not step on their toes in Aleppo.
Okay. Stream should be going live. I'm just waiting for it to catch up because it will have a delay.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
it looks good on Twitch. We're good to go.
Okay, cool.
If we want to do introductions.
Okay, I'll start. Yeah, everyone knows me online as Comrade. I've got like a decent little Twitter page following. I mostly post like some OSINT stuff, a lot of stuff about like Rojava and any other like anarchist militant groups. Obviously post about Ukraine a lot. And like basically I fought with the British Army in Deir ez-Zor in 2018 against Islamic State, supporting the YPG. So I know, you could say I know a little bit about what's going on in Syria.
And go ahead, James.
Okay. I am just a defense analyst. I guess you could say just analyze strategic affairs. So I guess it would be more a tactical, operational knowledge base sort of thing. Yeah.
And I'm a journalist who spent a little bit of time on the ground, mostly in Idlib, but I have seen a little few other places in Syria, and I specialize in Islamic insurgency. So before we get started, I think we should go over some of the main groups. So don't mind me using Wikipedia as the background source here. It's just easier, you know, for people to read and things like that.
Oh yeah.
But the main faction of the opposition is HTS. Now, a lot of people will say that they are Al-Qaeda linked and things like that. But they actually had a little bit of a split with Al-Qaeda. So they used to be this group called Al-Nusra Front. Most people are familiar with them. But they have still done operations with Al-Qaeda. See, here's Haraz al-Din's right here, which is Al-Qaeda in Syria now. And here's the Syria Salvation Government against them, you know. So there have been operations where they have gone together. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're aligned. It's more of like the enemy is my friend. During in the 2020 was the last like big violent period, and we even had Turkey and Russians like fighting each other on the ground. And since then, HTS has kind of consolidated power inside the rebel capital. And somehow they didn't split themselves apart when they were like, you know, the classic ousting people who oppose you inside the organization. And basically what happened is about the end of 2022, but really 2023, they launched a campaign. It's We Will Not Reconcile is what they called it. And it was instigated by Turkey moving forward peace talks with Assad, or the potential. There's no evidence that they were doing it at the time, but there was a lot of reconciliation going on of Assad. So since then, basically a weekly basis of the whole last year and this year, there has been sniping attacks or suicide attacks launched by the HTS on regime forces. And more recently, in the last month, there's been a lot of artillery strikes in civilian areas from regime forces. So if we are to believe HTS, the main reason why they're launching this operation is to protect people from artillery strikes that are happening right now. The other faction of the rebel factions is basically Turkey. They're the Syrian National Army, or SNA. They're more in the northern part of the conflict, and they're basically only fighting Kurdish forces. There's 2 different operation rooms handling the situation, so they technically are under different operation rooms, but at the end of the day, they are fighting towards the same goal, and HTS doesn't really care what happens to Kurds. And obviously, the last faction is the Kurdish faction. You'll see a lot of people online who are more of the revolution side of Syria, maybe displaced people. They eat a lot of Turkish propaganda up, and they'll say a lot of things that the Kurds and SDF are no different than Assad and things like that, completely ignoring the fact that the Kurds actually fight the regime forces. It's a
Yeah.
very uneasy alliance there as well.
I mean, like a lot of like the types you're talking about say, oh, you know, the SDF hasn't been fighting the regime for the past few years. It's like, well, that's not even true. Depending on which part of the front line you're talking about, they've been basically having a fucking like a static front line with constant fighting between them and the regime in Deir ez-Zor for years. But the main reason why they'd stopped pushing the regime was because of the Turkish offensives, and they didn't want to fight a 2-front war. And that was basically the main reason. I mean, people forget, like, half the leadership of the civilian government in Rojava and the military leadership of the SDF were all in an Assad prison in the past 20 years. Like, they've got plenty of hate for the regime.
Yeah, and I don't know how far we want to get into the history of this, but the deal with Assad to preserve themselves didn't come until Donald Trump pulled forces out of Syria.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if that didn't happen, we'd be looking at a completely different map right now.
What do you think the map would be like?
Honestly, from the vibes I was getting, obviously I was there in 2018. The pullout happened in 2019, but while we were on the offensive in Deir ez-Zor in 2018, the general consensus from a lot of the YPG guys I talked to was like, yeah, once we've consolidated this side of the Euphrates in Deir ez-Zor and wiped out ISIS, we're going to keep marching on the regime. That was the consensus. But then obviously that had to all be put on pause because of Turkey. So
Yeah,
I think
even
if Trump,
the patrolling of the prisons has continually been delayed because of Turkey.
Exactly. Like, I think if Trump didn't pull out, there's a good chance the SDF would have basically crossed the Euphrates and pushed the Raqqa front and basically tried to take like the eastern part of what Assad now controls away from the regime.
So James has been accused by many, not really, of being an HTS fanboy. So we want to elaborate on HTS's ideology and what sets them apart from other jihadists? Because they are identified as jihadists. They will tell you this themselves.
They were they're Salafi jihadists, right? But they are probably unique in the sphere of Salafi jihad, in the sense that they stopped or they kicked their millenarian habits, right? Usually with like Al Qaeda, Al Shabaab, even Daesh, etc. They want to expand and conquer, either through force or diplomacy. Either way, they want to expand, right? HTS said a few years ago, sort of like 2019, 2018, they said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. That shit sort of sucks. We're going to focus on bettering our community in Syria, right? And they stuck to it, which has never really happened before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's what's very interesting about them is they definitely are a different version of jihadists that we've seen. And they call this philosophy popular jihad. So they're kind of like populists.
Yeah, my
say
take
that
is
it's
that.
more.
Yeah. Sorry,
Go
go on.
ahead.
Yeah, my take is that because Jelani has basically had to manage what is effectively like a city-state in Aleppo, he's had to become a bit more pragmatic. He's had to basically become a bit of a politician instead of just a jihadi.
Mm-hmm. Let me just. I'm pulling up the man we're talking about real quick.
Yeah, Jelani, also known
Another
as
guy who's been in Assad's prison, I believe.
he was in Abu Ghraib as well.
Mm.
But fucking Jelani, also known as Zelensky's Syrian cousin. I mean, just look at him.
Okay, so don't steal my jokes. But
I mean,
this is him on PBS here. They did an
You know.
interview with him on PBS.
It is well known that the Ukrainian military intelligence and HTS is one struggle posting right now.
Yeah, I mean, he still will put on the headband sometimes, and it's funny because, I mean, there's this picture of him smiling, but normally he puts on the headband and he starts looking scarier.
Yeah,
But like,
he's
come on.
cosplaying a bit.
When the beard blends in with the black, that's totally Zelensky.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Zelensky might have stolen his look. Jelani's been fighting for longer.
Yeah,
that is true.
True.
But we've seen a lot of things from them. Like, the joke is that they're woke jihadis because they said things, because the Syrian Salvation Government is technically above HTS, but HTS is also it's kind of like a lot of countries like Pakistan. The military and the government kind of are in charge at the same time.
Yeah.
They're kind of competing.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's very similar to like the relationship between like the ISI and the civilian government.
Mm-hmm. That's another one, yeah. That's the military, basically. But they have said things like, I don't know if it happened, but they said that they're going to put women on the Shura Council.
That would be pretty funny.
And also, I think they said other minorities. They would still be Sunni, but
yeah, fucking jihadi DEI.
Yeah, that's the joke.
But I mean, we'll see. Like, obviously, you can't forget, like, when he was in charge of Al Nusra, he did order his fighters to blow up a bunch of churches and shit. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, they're pretty explicit in saying, "Hey, we're just improving our image, so we look better to the West."
Yeah, that's probably
very literally said this.
In my opinion, one of the main reasons they haven't fought the SDF yet, like the SNA has been optics for the West, because obviously, like the general Western consensus on Syria is like the SDF are kind of our guys, kind of. So like fighting them would kind of fuck up their reputation in a lot of Western capitals. And obviously the other reason is that like they don't want to get bogged down fighting the SDF when they can focus on the regime. And then also probably on top of that is that they've got enough independent power from Turkey that they don't have to just be Turkey's bitch like the SNA is.
There's a very strange tension between the SNA, HTS, the SDF, right? The SDF are probably hands down the strongest military actor in Syria, right? Especially in case there were any doubts last week about the SAA being capable. No, HTS sort of just proved that to be kind of a lie. But HTS only has like 20,000 guys, maybe 15 to 20,000 additional people from outside of Syria. But even then, the SDF has like a mobilization force of like 50,000 to
way more than that. They have around 100K guys that they can mobilize, and well, they've done it. They've
held back a lot of them though.
Yeah, So far,
They
yeah,
said they weren't ready.
so far most units, most battalions haven't been sent to the front line yet. They're just basically mustering them and getting them ready, because obviously they don't want to spread themselves too thin yet because they've got a lot of front lines to manage. Obviously, they've got the entire Euphrates River with the regime. Then they've got the Raqqa front with the regime. Then they've got the new front in the Manbij-Tabqa corridor to Aleppo against the SNA. They've also got the Sheikh Mansoud area inside Aleppo, and they've got Tel Rifat north of Aleppo. So they've got a lot of things to manage, which is why they called the mobilization to get the extra men. But also, there's a lot of fighters that they have that aren't technically like the military. So, for example, in all of the towns and cities and villages, there's like a militia, like a self-defense militia made of locals. Then there's obviously the Asayish, which can also be basically turned into basically be under the command of the military at any time that they need to be. And then there's other
You want to
forces like
explain what the Asaish is?
yeah, so the Asayish is basically the internal security force. Like a lot of people call them police, but they're not really police in the same way you'd think of it in like a normal sense. They're mostly like when they say security, I mean like actual security, mostly from like ISIS is what they mostly do. They also capture like they're responsible for capturing spies with their special forces unit, the HAT. They're focused on capturing like MIT, which is the Turkish intelligence agency spies, and also ISIS guys.
This is
Um,
the other one. I want the Rojava one. There we go.
yeah,
That's
they
the
also,
right one.
yeah, and there's a lot of people in the Asayish as well. There's probably like 20,000 Asayish members.
Yeah, and like one of the stated goals is that basically everyone inside the Kurdish territory eventually is trained to be Asaish, so then they don't need a police force. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like an anti-police police.
yeah. That's the thing as well. A lot of Asayish aren't permanent members. It's a temporary role that's rotated through the community. So, like for example, like you'll get Asaish training, and then like in a few months you'll be a part of the Asaish for a few months, and then your rotation will end, and someone else will take your spot.
So is it like mandatory?
I mean,
That
it's
you
not mandatory, but like it's encouraged. You're not going to get in trouble for not joining it. And also, the community can fire anyone in the Ataish if they don't like them. So basically, like if there's some
imagine
guy
if we
that,
could fire our own police?
so basically like, so basically like, if your local Ataish has like some dickhead running a checkpoint, you basically just go to the local council building, and say, "Yo, this guy needs to be taken off the Ataish. He's been a prick," and then that's what will happen.
So, I think everyone at this point should know that, obviously, like Aleppo, it's being reported that it's entirely in rebel hands. That's not necessarily true.
No.
It's more or less true.
Yeah,
But
basically, there's a big neighborhood inside Aleppo. Well, there's two neighborhoods, but the main neighborhood, they're both next to each other. It mostly always gets referred to the bigger neighborhood's name of Sheikh Maksud, which is a Kurdish majority area that the Kurds have held, the YPG have held throughout the entire war. Even during the real Battle of Aleppo, they always held it. And basically, when the offensive started on Aleppo against the regime, the SDF obviously thought, well, the HTS guys, they're backed by Turkey, they're just going to also assault Sheikh Maksud. So what happened was, on the second day, the SDF basically broke through regime lines in Manbij, on the Manbij front, and created a land bridge all the way to Sheikh Maksud and sent a bunch of reinforcements there. They also sent a bunch of guys to Tel Rafat, the SDF-controlled pocket north of Aleppo, because they knew that the SNA were going to try and push there, which is what they're doing now. And so what's happening is basically the SDF still control Sheikh Mansud, but from what I'm being told, the SDF have prepared to leave Tel Rafat, but in the meantime, what they're doing is fighting the SNA in Tel Rafat and to basically just hold it whilst they evacuate basically all of the Kurdish civilians in Tel Rafat. The plan is to take them from Tel Rafat into Sheikh Maksud and then out of Aleppo and into Manbij and Raqqa through the land bridge. Basically, from everything I've seen, because HTS controls Aleppo, they are letting this happen. They don't seem to be interfering with that. It's just the SNA that are. And obviously, the Kurds that live in Tel Rafat, North Aleppo, a lot of them are already displaced from Afrin when the Turks invaded Afrin with the SNA and ethnically cleansed it. Obviously, there's a laundry list of atrocities they commit in Afrin and continue to commit in Afrin, which is why the HRE, which is the Kurdish acronym for Afrin Liberation Forces, was formed. They're basically a part of the SDF, but their entire mission is to act as an insurgency in Turkish-occupied Afrin and to defend Tel Rafat, which is what they're doing right now. For years, the HRE has been waging like an insurgency campaign, a very effective one, by the way, against the Turks and SNA all over occupied Afrin. In the past year, from all the videos, because they post a lot of their combat footage and raids and attacks and ambushes they do, in just all of the ones that I've seen on video, they killed around 400-ish SNA fighters in the last year in occupied Afrin, and about 50 Turkish soldiers on top of that. So they're pretty effective and they're very experienced guys. So they're currently holding the line in Tel Rafat right now, so the SDF can evacuate the civilians out.
Okay, so what do we think about the relationship between HTS and SDF?
Well, it's going okay for the meantime, but obviously the worrying thing that happened recently is HTS tried to offer some sort of deal to the SDF that basically saying, hey, you can leave Sheikh Maksud with all your guys and all your weapons, and if you leave the Kurdish civilians there in under our control, we'll look after them. The SDF basically came out and said that's never happening. But even after that statement from the SDF, there hasn't been any fighting between HTS and the SDF yet. My guess would be that the Jalani and Mazlum Abdi, the commander of the SDF, are having some pretty serious negotiations right now about what to do in Aleppo.
It's sort of like one of those things where, Giovanni, obligatory, you had to ask. It was never going to happen, but you had to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, I can say as well that a lot of the Alawites that lived in Aleppo when HTS moved in, a lot of them fled to the Kurdish-held area of Sheikh Maksud, and they're not. And from everything I've heard, they're not keen on leaving that area. And also the YPG has basically said anyone in our area is under our protection, regardless if they're Kurdish, Alawite, whatever. So you're not going to be able to go in and fuck with the Alawites, basically.
That's probably for the best at the moment.
Because if there's one minority that's hated more than Kurds by any of the opposition, it's the Alawites.
It's the Alawites. Well, that's what I was going to ask once my chinchilla stopped running on the wheel. Was let's talk a little bit more about the minorities. I mean, a lot of people have posted asking like if the Christians are at risk there and things like that. As you said, Jelani blew up churches and shit.
It seems like he's trying to do a very big PR campaign right now that the Christians will be safe under his rule. obviously, a lot of the Christian community is pretty skeptical about that, but they're like kind of waiting to see what happens. A lot of the Armenian Christians specifically actually already got evacuated from Aleppo all the way to Raqqa, because there were a lot of Armenian students in Aleppo University. And because there's an Armenian militia and an Armenian presence in the SDF, they basically sent them to Aleppo and took like, I think it was like 2,000 Armenian students out of the city and all the way to Raqqa. And obviously Armenians are Christians.
Sorry, it's just my chinchilla decided now's the time that he's going to be awake.
Yeah, it's cool. But fucking,
But
I
we
know
talked
some
about
other
this
Christian
image in
communities.
Aleppo earlier. I think this is the one you were probably talking about.
Yeah, that guy with the Turkish flag. According to YPG guys in Aleppo, they went out and killed him.
Not quite sure what you expected to happen.
You know, there's your minority who's not safe. Am I right?
But one thing that not many people are talking about, which is going to be really important, I think, in the future. Okay, let's not even say that HTS topples Assad, right? Let's just say that they gain all this new territory and they have to administrate it, right? What is Jelani going to do about a lot of the foreign fighters in HTS that are a lot more radical than the positions that they have a lot more radical positions than what Jelani's publicly saying that HTS's official position is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, you've got the TIP, you've got IMU, you've got Jemeti Alban, you've got Amjad Al Kavkaz, you've got a lot of these foreign fighter guys in HTS who are pretty fucking radical. And I've got a feeling there might be some conflict between them and HTS, like Central Command, if Jelani basically forces them to act moderate in the areas he controls.
Yeah, I mean that's what I said. Is like if it's their chance to show that they've reformed. Like they won't get a second chance if shit goes south for them.
Yeah, basically. Like, James, I don't know, like, what's your opinion on the foreign fighter element in HTS and how they're going to act? But yeah,
actually, you're absolutely right. I'm pretty sure. I think Caliber pointed out that HTS was tasking them with like clearing random side villages.
yeah. A lot of them were sent to the Sarakib push. A lot of them were in Sarakib and not Aleppo on the M5 highway south of Aleppo. Is it Tavid? Tavid V something Jihad. It's the Uzbek guys. They got sent to Sarakib and not Aleppo city. And I know for a fact those Uzbek guys are still connected with Al Qaeda and they have bases in Afghanistan.
This is that sort of gets to a very kind of a touchy subject. So HTS broke from Al Qaeda, right? They're still technically okay. Well, they had a clean break without as clean as you can get as far as jihadist groups go. They had a clean break with Al Qaeda. They don't mind Al Qaeda's existence. They work with AQ guys under their coalition umbrella, but they just do not sort of take marching orders from Al Qaeda Central anymore. But for this offensive, they probably did. Okay, not probably. They did get an assist from Al Qaeda, right? They pushed up a bunch of fighters from Afghanistan to support this offensive.
Yeah, I heard about that as well, and it's not surprising, right? Do you remember? I think it might have been last year or the year before. The Taliban managed to send an aid convoy all the way to Idlib.
Yes, a set of 2 trucks at least, right? And
yeah,
apparently
the Taliban have been interesting the posting they've done.
They've been
about
super
this.
hyped.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
they
and
might
you
be
got to
more
remember, like,
excited than anyone else.
yeah, you got to remember, like, Jelani still celebrated the Taliban's victory in Afghanistan when the US left. So he's still fond of the Taliban, obviously, but and yeah, what I'm more interested in is like the foreign fighters, the foreign fighter like subunits in HTS. How much Al Qaeda has leverage or like power over them, because a lot of those
Yeah,
guys,
especially with the Uzbek faction.
yeah, especially
Um,
the Uzbeks, the Tajiks, the Uyghurs,
I
because
was
a
gonna.
lot of those
For
guys,
some reason, I was blanking on the term Uyghur.
yeah, a lot of the Uyghurs, Tajik, Uzbeks, like Central Asian fighters, a lot of those subunits that are in HTS are foreign fighters. A lot of them get their training in Afghanistan and then get sent to Syria.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I haven't reposted it, but then there's a lot of the like Al Qaeda tracker accounts, like the ex CIA guys, and that's the thing that they've been pointing out the most is how many of these people who are involved in this were trained by the Taliban in Afghanistan.
Yeah,
Which also,
I
I
mean,
mean, I've talked about this in the past, but jihadist groups have their own type of
Ecosystem.
not mercenary. What do you call them when they're not mercenaries?
like volunteers, like
yeah.
foreign volunteer fighters. Yeah,
Yeah, well, it's not. What is the word? Contractors.
yeah. Yeah,
So there's a
essentially.
lot
Actually,
of contractors that are done through the Haqqani network.
in this case, literal contractors for HTS, right? They HTS's contractors set up honest to god mercenary group style.
Yeah.
Contracting.
It started with Malhammer Tactical in Idlib, and if you're interested in those guys, Popular Front Jake Hanrahan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did a podcast episode where he interviewed the leader of Malhammer Tactical a couple years ago, and it's actually really interesting. But since Malhammer Tactical a few years ago, who set up training camps in Idlib to train HTS fighters, there's a bunch of new like tactical groups. There's a Caucasus one made up of like Chechens and Dagestanis that operates under HTS. There's an Albanian one as well. Like there's a few of those like little subgroups who are like small units of fighters that mostly before the offensive were tasked with setting up training camps and training other HTS guys, but now obviously are joined the offensive and joined the fighting when this kicked off.
The question: what benefit does Al Qaeda or the Taliban get from this? Just straight cash for training people?
Actually, I'm pretty sure Al Qaeda is probably the one pouring more money into them than the other way around, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So Al Qaeda has its own goals, right? I guess the big plan at the moment is to reunite the entire Islamic Ummah, right? Regardless of sect. And they've been working on that for like the past 3 years, reaching out and making connections with basically everyone, including all of the major Muslim governments, right? So you could say they in here, right? Everybody's sort of beating the fuck out of Assad, right? Because everybody hates Assad. This is like just across the board. Everyone except for Alawites, and I guess some Syrian Christians, hates Assad. The Russians don't like Assad because his army is incompetent and they have to carry his fat ass everywhere. Sorry, lanky ass everywhere. The Iranians, they think the same way. Actually, and both the Russians and Iranians are working with Al Qaeda on this, which is probably why they are just letting Assad bite the bullet on this one. Yeah, Haqqani posting. They actually, Sergei Shoigu, I guess he was the Russian Minister of Defense. Now he's the Minister of he's the Russian National Security Advisor. Like the day before HTS started its offensive, they were having meetings in Kabul with the Taliban, right? So you think the
Haqqanis told him this was going to happen?
Not only do I think the Haqqanis told them that this was going to happen, I'm pretty sure the Russians they started. Remember, like a few years ago, when a Russian Air Force bombers killed a bunch of Turkish soldiers, and then Moscow reached out to Turkey and said, "Hey, sorry about that, friends. How about this? We're going to pull back our guys. We're going to turn off our SAMs, and you guys can just go crazy, do whatever you want." And then the Turks were like, "Sure, great." And they spent a week kicking the shit out of the SAA.
Yeah.
I get the sense that this is sort of like that, right? I don't necessarily think that the Russians expected the SAA to collapse out of Aleppo this quickly, but pretty much immediately after this offensive started, you saw reports about the Russians pulling back their guys from their northern territories, or from northern territory.
Yeah, something really interesting about that. You know how because of the 2020 ceasefire, because the US pulled out, that on the front line between SDF and SNA controlled front lines, that the Russians and Turks did like joint patrols on the front line.
Mm-hmm.
Those patrols, those military police Russian units, like I would honestly say a couple hours before the offensive started, all of them completely pulled out of SDF territory and went straight. Probably my take is straight to Tartus to defend their naval base. Because obviously, if HTS take Homs and Hammer, Tartus is at real risk. But I honestly think if they do, the Turks will try and talk HTF out of taking Tartus, because the Russians will see that as a massive Turkish. Basically, if the rebels encircle Tartus, the Russians will take that as like Turkey's green light in that and is attacking the Russians. So Turkey's probably very cautious about that. They don't want to get in too much hot water with the Russians. But also, interestingly enough, the Russian Air Force hasn't really been targeting HTS, but they've been bombing the shit out of the SNA.
Yeah, civilians. They've been bombing civilians as well.
Yeah, they've been bombing civilians
in
Aleppo, but they've been bombing the shit out of the SNA.
Incredibly funny.
Which I don't know why yet. My guess is that they'd rather have SDF in control of former regime areas than they would the SNA, because the Russians know that they can make a deal with the SDF, whereas they can't really make a deal with the SNA because the SNA doesn't even have the power to make independent deals with anyone if Turkey's not involved. So a deal with the SNA would just be a deal with Turkey, and they might not get that. So that's my take on why they're bombing the SNA, because they know that, like, okay, cool, whatever happens in like the next few days, we can at least have some sort of negotiations with the SDF. We can't really negotiate with the Turks.
So somebody was asking about Israel.
Israel's just been kind of sitting
Israel
back.
sides with Assad just to avoid being the worst guy around.
Yeah, like Israel hasn't really done anything. I know they there was an Iranian arms shipment that was flying into, I think, Damascus, that they basically scrambled jets and got them to turn back around and head to Iran. But that's all they've done so far.
Yeah, and so this was brought up before. So there's like there's a little it depends how anti-Semitic the person is, but basically there is like kind of like an unspoken alliance between Israel and Assad.
Yeah,
and this,
yeah.
breaks people's brains because Assad is part of the the fucking what do they call it?
Resistance.
The axis of resistance. Yes.
But like Assad like does nothing. Assad, like from what I understand, Assad and Russia basically just let the Israelis bomb IRGC in Syria whenever they want.
Well, and also it benefits Israel because if Assad leaves, there's the Golan Heights.
Yeah, exactly. And they do not want fucking HTS, or especially, in my opinion, I think they're more afraid of the foreign fighters that are under HTS command being on the border with the Golan Heights. But even then, even Jelani, though, his family were expelled from Golan in the 60s, so he might even have some ideas about the Golan Heights if he borders them.
Yeah, that's right. Jelani's name is from the Golan Heights. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
That's what his name basically means.
And also, you can guarantee if HTS controls any of the border regions with Golan Heights, they're going to be helping the Haqqanis smuggle more weapons into West Bank through that way.
But sometimes you'll see online, like the Assadists arguing with the Free Syrians, and they'll say they're both accusing each other of being allies to Israel.
Yeah, which is hilarious. Like considering, like if you saw the fucking rallies in Idlib when October 7th happened.
Yeah.
Like, bro.
Well, there's a video going around where they burn an Arab flag, which is like, it could be, it's the same.
No,
flag
that wasn't a Palestinian flag. That was a Ba'ath Party flag.
Exactly.
They just look very similar because all the fucking Arab nationalist flags look almost exactly the same.
But then they also have a video where they are in it. It could be a setup video, like there's no geolocation or anything, but it's a room with like just boy band posters of Assad and shit all over the walls, and they rip down all the Assad and IRGC pictures, and they rip down all the flags but leave a Palestinian flag up. And then that's what they're responding to, being like, no, see, they're pro-Palestine.
Also, I've also seen Assadis and FSA fanboys try and say that like the SDF is pro-Israel. And it's like, bro, the PKK's like first ever casualties fighting anyone was against the Israelis in Aleppo. Like, you have no idea what I mean. Not sorry, in Aleppo, in Lebanon. Like the PKK is literally like first guys that ever died in combat were fighting the IDF. Like they're not pro-Israel at all.
Well, I think a lot of it comes from Barzani in Iraqi Kurdistan.
Yeah. But Barzani's just like a fucking Turkish puppet, bro. Like, Barzani is basically like Turkey's version of fucking the PA in West Bank. Like they just do whatever they want. Like fucking hell, the Barzani's faction of the Peshmerga fucking collaborate with Turkey in their ground occupation of southern Kurdistan against the PKK, for fuck's sake. Also, interesting PKK wise, I know for a fact that a bunch of PKK guys have crossed the KRG border into Rojava. I know for a fact that happened 2 days ago.
It's interesting because for us it shows his. I was just looking on the Twitch stream, and for us it shows a blank rectangle for him, but on the Twitch stream it's just me and James and a voice in the background.
On the map, but yeah. I'm a bit of my autistic like hyperfixation is like all the different Kurdish groups, and I told James how I remember I told James a while ago how the PKK managed to shoot down all those TB2s. It's really funny. A bunch of online analysts think that for some fucking brain dead reason that the IRGC sent them their drones, but it's actually even funnier than that. Basically, what happened was, a bunch of corrupt guys a bunch of corrupt SAA guys in Deir ez-Zor basically sent piece by piece parts of the Iranian interceptor drone, like smuggled it into the SDF, and then obviously SDF guys basically took that straight to the PKK in Kandil. They reverse engineered that and started producing their own version. It's also the way that the PKK gets a lot of their ATGMs. It's just like corrupt fucking SAA officers that just sell shit out of warehouses. And a lot of it.
Chat is asking if people have come in later. Could you repeat what your background is for people?
Yeah, basically, I fought as part of the British Army in Deir ez-Zor with the Kurds against ISIS. and I'm a bit of a like autist when it comes to studying like the Syrian civil war and like all the different wars that the Kurdish movement is involved in and
Well, the
all that
Syrian
sort of
civil
stuff.
war is probably the most complicated conflict of all time.
Yeah, I remember tracking that when it first happened, bro, and that
Mhm.
was just pure schizophrenic, bro. Like, holy
Mhm.
shit. Like,
It's still
this
to
is,
this day, it's so hard to weed through
but
information.
to be honest, bro, this is the simplest it's ever been because there's
I
basically
agree.
four main factions, right?
Yeah,
Ye-
just next week
Bro,
it's going to be 16. Just wait.
bro,
Fuck.
in 2013, from like 2012 to like 2016, there were like 72 different fucking operations rooms in all of the fucking in
Just
all of
Now
the
there's
fucking
two.
yeah, like
just opposition territory, by the way.
yeah, exactly.
The Iranians have like what they still have like 50 of their own militia groups. It's just a
Yeah,
fucking
by the way, a lot of the IRGC guys that are fighting on the like HTS front line, a lot of them are the B tier guys. Like it's not Hezbollah right now, it's the Pakistani and Afghan Shia militias. I think it's Feta Mayun and I forgot the other one's name, but it's basically the militia that they formed to help Assad out of refugees from Pakistan and Afghanistan that were living in Iran. They basically set it up to where if you're Pakistani or Afghan Shia and you live in Iran as a refugee, you can get Iranian citizenship if you join the militia. Um, and they sent a lot of those guys to die in masses during the early Syrian civil war to stem Assad's bleeding. And those are a lot of the guys that have been fighting in the like Homs and Aleppo frontline against HTS. They haven't done so well though, obviously.
So this is basically a meme, except it's real. This is the Assad factions in 2017.
Oh yeah, bro. Is the fucking SSMP there?
I couldn't tell you. There's 100. So
You know, the Syrian Social Nationalist Party, which whose
the
whose
Nazgul.
yeah, whose logo is definitely not a swastika, guys. Don't worry. It's
yeah, I
definitely
don't see
not
it
a
on this
swastika.
one. You know,
But
it's a lot of IRGC. You can tell because the logo is the same
Green
for
and
all
yellow,
IRGC.
yeah.
yeah.
But even the solder militia are on this one. Oh, here they are. Here they are. It's,
Oh yeah.
Tornado Eagles.
Yeah. Tornado Eagle. God, it's such a cringe name.
But this one looks like the Shield logo for Marvel.
It's so cringe. But fucking have you seen anything about Hezbollah right now? Because everything I've seen, Hezbollah hasn't really done anything. They've just
I haven't
stayed in
seen
Lebanon.
anything from Hezbollah
Yeah,
Nothing.
exactly.
at all.
They've just been staying in Lebanon right now. I think they're worried that if they pull out a bunch of their guys from Lebanon to help Assad, the IDF's just going to bomb them as soon as they reach Syria.
So
Because
we were talking a little bit about the move to the coastline, and I wanted to talk about maybe what's next, because apparently there's been uprisings by regular
oh yeah,
civilians in Hama.
yeah. There's a lot of civilian uprisings in Hama and Homs, but also what is not being reported enough is. Do you remember the old Southern Front factions, like the Druze militias and the Southern Front guys in Dara and Sueda? Obviously, those guys, when the regime fully took control again, they did the reconciliation agreement, where basically the regime would let a bunch of these rebels like stay free and not end up in prison if they laid down their arms. But a lot of those guys just stayed underground and had and basically maintained their network and kept a lot of their weapons. And they've officially announced that they've reformed and have started the fighting again in Dara and Sueda. And by the way, when a lot of people talk about the Ukrainian meme of like Ukrainian military intelligence helping rebels in Syria, these are the guys that they were helping a few months ago.
Yes,
by the way,
yes, that's what I keep saying, is that Ukraine operates in the south.
yeah, they've been helping. Do you know why they operate in the south?
Something to do with the Golan Heights.
Sort of, but the main reason they're operating from the south is because they're based in Jordan.
Yep, that
I
checks
just
out.
know that I think there's a lot of like different. It depends on who's stationed in the south as well.
Yeah.
Like on the Assad side.
The GUR, which is like the Ukrainian military intelligence, who have like a special forces direct action wing. Those are the guys that were helping the rebels in the south a few months ago blow up a bunch of Russians near the Golan Heights. Yeah, they're operating out of Jordan.
Wait,
I know that. for a fact.
Alexander, what do you mean by that? Ukraine has been helping a lot. Are they? Sorry. Answer the question in time. You continue. He's.
But yeah, basically, yeah, that's where they've been helping. It's in the south. It's not HTS. But funnily enough, I think it was late 2022 when this happened. The Ukrainians approached the SDF and basically offered to train a bunch of their guys and give them man pads in exchange for them helping hit Wagner bases in Syria. And the SDF were up for it. They agreed to it. But basically, Turkey just basically chimped out and basically begged the US to not let it happen. And the Biden admin pussied out and they didn't want to piss Turkey off.
They went Batman.
But yeah, because they're terrified of fucking the SDF getting a bunch of fucking stingers. Because well, they know some of them are going to go to the PKK, obviously. But yeah, with the push on in the south near Homs and Hama, if they take Homs, bro, I think the Russians are going to start shitting the bed. I think the Russians are going to start shitting the bed and basically sending a bunch of their guys to actually defend on the ground their naval base and air base in Latakia.
Yeah, so this province right here on the side here, this is the beginning and the end of the war, basically.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people
Also,
would think that it's Damascus down here because that's the capital.
No,
it's right here.
Yeah, because
if they
all
take
of
Hama
all
and
of
they
the
push to the
logistics.
south, they cut off both of these places from each other.
Yeah,
and this is the main place that the regime needs to hold.
Yeah, because all of the Russian support flies in through their naval base in Latakia. And because they've lost a lot of their air bases already, that's basically the only base they have left. And the Iranians right now are also using trying to use. They got turned away by Israel.
Also,
that base
this is
as well.
where the S-400s are.
Yeah. That's where a lot of the heavy Russian assets are. But also,
literally, you could do a naval attack if these places are gone.
But also, if they try and take it directly instead of just cutting it off, it's going to be a hard fight because that's where a lot of the Alawites actually live, and they will defend that hard against HTS. Like the Alawites aren't going to let HTS just take Latakia. But also, on the Hammer front, the reason it stalled out was because basically one of the divisions, I forgot which division of the SAA, the one that's basically controlled by Assad's cousin. It might be the 4th division.
Wait, brother, not cousin.
Brother, yeah. They basically, Assad's brother basically told them in Damascus, get your fucking arse up to Hama right now. And they basically went up there and flooded the city with their guys. So obviously, I think the HTS will try and go around Hama and cut it off from Homs, because obviously, if they cut the road off from Homs, Hama's fucked anyway, and they'll just encircle Hama. They'll probably bypass it, cut off the highway from Homs and Damascus, and then clear it out that way.
And then there's this little area I call the Golden Zone here.
Yep.
Now,
Big Camel, yeah.
The Iranian supply lines, they essentially can go through Mosul, or they can go down here. And this is the most common one currently.
Yeah, Buchan was the one. Buchan was the place, and that's why the special guys in Al-Tanf, the little US sponsored border patrol in Al-Tanf, the green.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah,
guys.
here.
Yeah. Both those guys themselves and local sources are expecting them to basically try and take the Iraq border, like basically go north and basically cut off the Iranians from flooding more PMF guys in through Syria, through Iraq, because that's
Yeah,
what
but
it's not just
basically
local
between these
sources
two
saying that.
points would be the only line left.
Yeah, exactly. If they take
And
Abu Kamel, the Iranians are fucked, basically.
and we've seen Kurdish movement towards that direction.
Yeah. They took the Kasham pocket, where the little piece of regime-held territory on the other side of the Euphrates. They took that already. I don't know why it's not on the map. Well, actually, I know why it's on the map. They were basically extremely hush-hush about it. Yeah, that little pocket there, Kasham.
By the city DZ.
Yeah, go up, north. Yeah. You see the little regime pocket on the other side of the river? Yeah, that's held by the SDF now.
This way here.
But the SDF have been extremely quiet about that. I only knew that was going to happen because YPG guys that I still know told me it was going to happen. And the US apparently gave artillery support to the SDF when they pushed it as well, which is quite rare. So that's not surprising, because this is, as you said, this is like the special zone where the US can just bomb the Iranians and Assad and get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they don't even, CENTCOM doesn't even make a statement. They just do it and stay quiet.
Well, I don't see why you would make a statement.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently the A-10s came out tonight as well and bombed a bunch of the PMF guys crossing from Iraq. That's not 100% confirmed though, but it's what a lot of local sources are saying.
Yeah. 3 airstrikes believed to be by the international coalition target the area.
Yeah.
And it says thousands of Shabi fighters, PMF, from Iraq are flowing through the border. So
Yeah,
I don't know what they expect them to do.
Yeah, like you got to remember as well that the Americans have bombed the PMF on that border crossing on the Iraqi side of the border numerous times, bro. Like,
yeah, they can do it whenever they want.
Yeah,
Actually, like when the people died in Jordan, the U.S. 3 service members died in Jordan. That's what was actually like surprising, is that they launched an attack there and actually was successful, because normally they don't kill anyone when they do those attacks, and the
yeah,
US also ignores
they
it
just
from
blow up
their end.
warehouses. Yeah, they just blow
It
up
goes
warehouses
both
and
ways,
stuff.
ignoring the bombings. But as long as you don't kill US service members, then you're in the clear.
Yeah, and it's funny as well. Like 24 hours after they killed US service members, the US fucking slap chopped one of the main
Yes, I was
PMF
gonna
guys.
say slap chop, say it right.
Yeah, they fucking slap chopped one of the PMF guys in his SUV in fucking downtown Baghdad, and basically no one talked about it. Like there's literally a CCTV video
Yeah,
of his
cool. It looks like a Back to the Future, though. You know.
Yeah, like yeah. There's a fucking video of his SUV skidding down the street with the front of it like on fire.
لكنتم أكرم شبيحة لا تخافوا لك عليكم الأمان دعوا.
Fucking hell, what was that laugh? Jesus. Jesus. That was a real smoker's laugh. Fucking hell. But
yeah, they sit around that hookah all day.
Yeah, that hookah's sometimes not just got tobacco in it, put it that way. You don't just take a random hookah when you're in Iraq, bro.
Okay, so losses from Syria, stuff that showed up, so 151 total losses.
Yeah, that's equipment as well. Yeah, that's equipment. So, and basically all of it's captured.
People are comparing this to when ISIS uprose and like took all the gear.
Yeah, yeah. I was saying Aleppo has basically been Assad's Mosul. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's another thing is people are comparing it directly to that campaign.
Yeah, it's been
Alright.
fucking nuts, man.
Oh, question about Egypt. I'm not sure about not sure if the Egyptians are doing anything. I don't think they especially care about Syria.
Yeah, I saw Victor say that like the Egyptians have like lost, like stopped tracking Syria for a while. They might have been like they might have been more involved in Syria when the Muslim Brotherhood was still relevant during the civil war, but I think after that they stopped caring.
Yeah, the Muslim Brotherhood used to be the most.
Yeah, they lost that much.
Well, that equipment capture that we just showed as well. That's just what's actually been like verified, and they're behind because there's so much that they don't have time to log at all because they also
Yeah.
have jobs.
And that's just today, by the way, or yesterday.
But yeah, it's fucking nuts, man. Like yeah, I'm hearing a lot of like, I'm getting told by like a lot of YPG guys that they expect if basically they want to go on the offensive against the regime like properly and really sweep the regime, especially in like all the desert in the east and just fucking wrap it up. But right now their main focus is on defending the front line against the SNA because they think the Turks are going to tell the SNA to try and like basically attack Manbij and stuff.
So I'm gonna. Here's a little.
Oh,
thing I was looking for.
So also, this is related. Apparently, Assad's family in the U.S., right? They see the writing on the wall, right? They already think the war's over. Essentially, they're starting to make plans for on how to evacuate their kin in Syria.
That's pretty fucking funny. It's wild that Assad's just got like family members just like living it up in like fucking Beverly Hills and shit.
I mean, as long as you can't trace that they're like funding somebody who's sanctioned.
Those guys must have an insane fucking observation on them. Like they must get followed literally everywhere.
You think, but most of the time, I don't think the U.S. government really gives a shit about expats, right? Or even notables, right? Like Khalifa Haftar, even though he was a literal CIA asset, he was just running a gas station in Virginia.
Oh yeah, that's another thing as well that people aren't taking into account. If the Russians get their naval base in Tartus cut off, that's going to really fuck Haftar. Because a lot of the logistics that a lot of the supplies that the Russians send to Haftar all goes through the Tartus naval base. And obviously, if the Russians lose the Tartus naval base, it's going to be hard to supply Haftar, but it's also going to be really hard to supply the RSF and Wagner as well, because all of that also goes through Tartus.
So I just pulled up a little population map so people can see like how thin the population is on a lot of spots on this river. So if Turkey wasn't involved, Assad would be already gone at this point.
Yeah. If Turkey wasn't egging the SNA on to attack the SDF would have swept the fucking Badia Desert on the other side of the Euphrates by now. Speaking of ISIS, though, I mean the Badia Desert. James, have you heard anything coming out of ISIS? Because like they've been very quiet about Syria right now, from everything I've seen.
Shit, I think Greg Waters pointed out it might have been Greg Waters, might have been somebody else. They launched like 4 attacks, but otherwise they've been, I guess, quietly staging.
Yeah, because most of the ISIS presence right now is in Badia, in regime-held desert. Like that's been where ISIS has really had a lot of success. It's been in regime territory to the point where a few months ago, for the first time in years, the US bombed an ISIS position in regime-held territory in the Badia Desert.
Actually, apparently, we bombed 3 positions.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously they didn't even ask Assad for permission. But like that hasn't happened in years, man. And like isn't and it was in Badia as well. Which, by the way, for the listeners, Badia is like the desert region all around Palmyra, like where it's just basically all desert. Um, yeah, the ISIS was like killing. What was it like? Convoys of like truffle herd pickers or something, like killing like hundreds of people in those attacks and shit. In regime held Badia Desert, like fucking hell.
It's on like a regular basis, right? They shoot up like a convoy a month. I don't know, like a convoy a week,
A
or
week,
every like 2
yeah,
days,
yeah, a week.
3 or 4 days.
Um,
I'm just going through finding different videos of the foreign fighters. Warnor has posted a lot of them because he's highlighting the weapons that they have. But this guy is from Pakistan. I believe CIA guys who ex-CIA who post about Al Qaeda and stuff. They've identified this guy as coming directly from an Al Qaeda camp.
Yeah, James, do you know about those Pakistanis that went missing in Iraq a few months ago?
yeah, the 40,000 Pakistanis after went missing in Iraq after going on a religious trip, and we're not sure what happened to them. It might just be Pakistan and Iraq having shitty bureaucracies, but yeah, it's a quite the rounding error to just sort of lose 40,000 people.
Rounding error.
But honestly, that would be great. That would be great cover, though. Like there's gonna be a religious pilgrimage, and you just send a bunch of you guys in there, and then when they get there, they just move out of Iraq into Syria.
So here's another guy from Albania.
Yeah, Jometi Alban. They've been around for quite a few years. Caliber Obscura on Twitter. He did a really good article. He's got a few articles on his own website about Jometi Alban. They're pretty interesting. I think a few of their guys, like the guys that started Jometi Alban, I think they were like OG Mujahideen that were fighting in Bosnia.
Yeah, I mean, that's where a lot of, not Caucasus, Balkan guys, like, still Caucasus guys too, trace themselves back to Bosnia.
Yeah. A lot of the Caucasus guys also went to Bosnia. And I know, bro, even Muslims in the West went to Bosnia for jihad. A lot of people don't know that. Like, there's a lot of Western jihadis that went to Bosnia to fight.
Yeah, a lot of guys who have been around for a while, if you like look at their wiki page, it'll show that they God, there was somebody we were looking at recently. What's his name? It's the guy with 3 fingers who was in the Chechen War.
Oh yeah, I know who you mean. I know, but yeah. The guy that's in Ukraine.
No. He's dead. He was killed. But he was the Arab guy who was in the Chechen Mujahideen.
Oh, Ibn
who
Khattab?
was friends with Bin Laden.
Yeah.
Big guy. Ibn Khattab. Ibn al-Khattab.
Khattab, yes. So I was looking into him, and like he spoke fluent Kurdish and like all these different languages, and apparently was in like different battles, and like it went like way back, and there's no confirming if he was in there. And
he absolutely was. He
spoke a shitload of languages because he was like the first guy to do like jihadi media and posting online.
Yeah, bro, in Bosnia, like in the 90s, like if you went to the right places,
I didn't want audio.
Yeah, if you went to certain Muslim neighborhoods in the UK when the Bosnia war was happening, you might just find a guy on a street corner handing out VHS tapes, telling people to join the Mujahideen in Bosnia. Which is
found one. It's just like playing the Black Sun game with Ukraine.
Oh yeah, but yeah, it's the Shahada patch. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
black banner.
So like what I was saying is like this doesn't denote somebody's an ISIS, but it does denote that they're an extremist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Because like even like the like I tell it's like the other factions who use this flag include Al Qaeda.
yeah. Al Qaeda and like basically every like extreme
Salafist
Salafist
jihadist
group
group, yeah.
in the world.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see, it's easier to spray paint on black fabric. So
yeah.
you'll see a lot of Al Qaeda in Africa use them.
Bro, do you remember a few months ago when those fucking ISKP guys blew up the fucking concert hall in Moscow?
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
Crocus Theater. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that their picture with the flag before they posted before they did it? It was like made out of fucking paper, like white and black paper that they glued on top of each other. It was so shit.
Yeah, it's easy. It's way easier than the other Shahada that you see.
Yeah. By the
But
way,
also, what do you think about all this like military nerd gear? You know, you see plate carriers on terrorists now.
bro, it's just the trend, bro. It's the fashion, bro. It's like the trend. Like, it's the new like wave, bro. Because a lot of these guys are fucking Zoomers, man. Like a lot of these guys are like 20 or 18. Like they're following the trend. They probably
Yeah,
watch
that guy that
fucking.
we were just showing
They probably
was
watch
part of
like
the
fucking.
Uzbek, Tajik, Uyghur section.
Oh yeah. Like they probably watch fucking combat edits from like Telegram channels that make like edits with a bunch of like edgy songs against them from like
Yeah,
Ukraine and
they
shit.
grew up watching the Iraqi sniper tapes.
Yeah,
Oh,
now
yeah.
they just and now they watch fucking combat edits with funk music. Like it's just the new wave. It's
Yeah,
just the new wave.
They all play Fortnite. They all play video games. They're all
Yeah, bro.
they're all kids, right? Or
Bro,
not-
the fucking
but
the fucking TTP were making Pepe memes on fucking Twitter about kicking the
Oh, yeah.
shit out of the Pakistanis, bro. Like,
the TTP is.
I
Two-
put it up earlier.
GG,
Let
big
me
game.
see if I still have it open. Yeah, this one right here. So it's my favorite part of
Oh,
ISIS
yeah.
versus Taliban Twitter beef.
bro, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy that like obviously they still have some presence, but like back in the day, like ISIS was heavy on Twitter, man. Back in the day,
Mhm.
bro, like, they were.
Yeah, well, I mean
heavy.
that's really where I got my start into really getting into researching militant groups. Was like I'm just like, hey, I love ISIS on Twitter with like burner accounts, and they were like, cool. Here's a bunch of stuff we did today.
Yeah, like there was shitloads of recruiters on Twitter as well.
Mhm.
There was
Yeah,
a lot of
that's who I would
recruiters on
go and
Twitter.
I'd talk to, and I'd make them think I was interested.
Because I've got a friend who he was in the same unit as me, but he transferred to military intelligence. And in his training for military intelligence, they basically did a course like a program where they went over like previous British military intelligence operations online, and a lot of that was covering them infiltrating ISIS on Twitter and Facebook and shit, and how
Yeah,
they did it.
ISIS did not have good OPSEC in that
Yeah, it
regard.
was horrendous. It was horrendous,
And-
bro. Do you know what, bro? Do you know what we were doing in Deir ez-Zor, bro? When we were taking villages from ISIS, we were literally picking up their cell phones, messaging all their friends who were in different villages, and giving them fucking fake orders and false information on in their WhatsApp groups and shit. Like we were literally messaging them like, "Yo, we were messaging like the PKK is attacking this village, send reinforcements, blah blah blah," and then we'd message them like, "Are you there? Can you send us a picture of where you are?" They'd send us instantly send that to the fucking our commanders and get them blown up, bro. Like,
Think smarter, not harder.
yeah, like it was crazy, bro. Like the amount, and bro, I can't lie. When we were pushing in Deir ez-Zor, the amount of European passports we picked up was insane.
Jesus.
Like, I can't lie. I think the majority of the guys we were fighting in Deir ez-Zor in 2018 were foreign fighters. Because, like, they were the ones that stood and fought anyway. I think a lot of the local guys just ran when we were fighting in 2018. Like,
well, that's the issue, right? Is like we were just saying, like the foreign fighters are the ones we're worried about when it comes to links with Al Qaeda.
yeah, and the foreign
And
fighters are
ISIS.
always the most. Foreign fighters are always the most radical and most like determined to stay and fight. Because for the foreign fighters, especially in 2018 with ISIS, they had nowhere to go. Like they either fought or they died or they got captured. There was no leaving anymore. At least in Deir ez-Zor, obviously Turkey was still letting them flee into Turkey through the border in the north when that was all going on. But everyone likes to forget that the ISIS has a very good partnership with the MIT, and I'm not talking about the American university.
Yeah. Fuck.
Damn, I wonder why all those ISIS guys in 2018 were emirs and commanders all of a sudden turned up in the SNA ranks as commanders, but they shaved their beards off. I wonder how that happened.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's the thing is like the SNA is more ISIS linked. HTS
Yeah.
is more Al Qaeda linked.
Yeah, bro, there are so many quote unquote former ISIS guys that are in the SNA. Bro, you know what I found out recently? James, you might remember this. I think it was last year. There was like a small ISIS attack in a church in Turkey where two masked up ISIS guys ran into a church, shot up a bunch of people in Istanbul, ran away, and never got caught. Like, if you know anything about Turkey, there is gendarme, so military police all over Istanbul. They were allowed to get away. But you know what I found out recently?
Did you read about the Turks had their MIT set up an ops center for ISIS in like a few apartment buildings in
Yeah.
Istanbul or Ankara? I think it was in
Yeah.
Istanbul.
But yeah, those guys, those two ISIS guys that did the attack on the church, they're fucking in the SNA.
Yeah, and we already said that there was the one
Makes
guy
sense.
who killed Hevron Khalif. I don't know
Yeah.
if we said that on stream though.
Yeah. SDF is looking to kill him. By the way, they're looking for him right now. They're looking to kill him. They're gonna fucking drone strike him, bro. But yeah, bro,
I
SNA
remember
is like,
covering
yeah,
her assassination,
yeah.
and
That
I
was
want to
crazy.
say basically like the way she got shot in the head ended up, and the way they pulled her hair when they pulled her out of the car ended up scalping her.
Yeah. Yeah. Fucking. But yeah, bro, like half the commanders in the SNA right now are fucking ISIS, bro. It's crazy. Like, as much as people want to throw like the ISIS and Al Qaeda accusations against HTS, bro, like SNA is more ISIS and Al Qaeda than fucking HTS has been in years, bro. Like, and
Well,
also,
I mean, if you think about it, you're an ISIS guy. Suddenly, I mean, it used to be the shit. That's the group you wanted to be in when it came to Syria. Then all of a sudden, it became the group you really didn't want to be in. Who's going to protect you?
the Turks, because they were already sponsoring you when you were officially part of ISIS anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, it is actually insane to me that like
Ooh.
no one talks about the fact that Turkey was just directly supporting ISIS in Syria.
I do.
I mean, I know, but like no one, like outside of like a few autists online, no one even knows that
Oh, okay,
happened.
oddest. I see how it is.
But like, other than like,
Accurate.
unless you speak to like really online like knowledgeable Syria guys or Kurds who know that this was happening, no one like, bro. I remember like years ago when Brett basically.
Ooh,
Hang on.
oh,
You just got
Are
like
you-
really quiet. You might be covering
Yeah.
your mic.
Oh wait, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago when Brett McGurk went on fucking TV and basically just said it outright that Turkey was supporting ISIS. Like, I remember he was like, he did the whole like, I was in charge of the border between Turkey and Syria. The Turks wouldn't close the border. 40,000 foreign fighters crossed the border from ISIS, from Turkey into Syria, and the Turks let it happen. But as soon as the Kurds come up to the border, there's a big fucking war. We tried to work with them, blah, blah, blah. Like, he went on this big rant. I can't remember what TV station he was on. He went on some big rant where he basically just said what the Turks are doing. Fucking
I mean, primarily, who's ISIS fighting?
the Kurds. So
Kurds.
yeah. Oh yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah. By the way, this guy's a really good source for what's going on
Oh
SDF
yeah, yeah.
wise.
This is for as far as Kurdish sources. I think this is the best one there is.
Yeah, Syria. Yeah, this guy's top of the game.
And also, when he gets stuff wrong, he does redact himself and say, "I
Yeah,
was mistaken. I jumped the
yeah,
gun on
exactly.
this one."
Yeah,
And he
exactly.
rarely gets stuff wrong either.
Hmm. Well,
But
I
it's,
think one of the things that he did admit to is because he posted the Ba'athist flag being burned.
Oh
and he
yeah.
misidentified it as Palestinian. And then later he was like, "Okay, I jumped the gun."
but it's
Which
not.
is,
It's,
you know,
yeah,
some people would think that I'm insulting him, but like as a journalist, I respect that more than good reporting that's like flawless, because it never is flawless. You're just
yeah,
like keeping
yeah.
a
There's no
mask
such
on.
thing as There's no such thing as flawless reporting, especially when things are developing this fast. But I feel bad for him right now, bro. Have you seen him posting his fucking alarms on his phone? How he's gonna wake up every hour and do updates?
Yeah. He's
Bro's running on chai and fucking hookah smoke right now.
Bro, I've tried to get him to come talk before.
He just started following me yesterday, I think.
I don't follow him on this account. Now I do. It looks like every other hour.
Oh yeah, yesterday it was every hour. Yeah, I remember. But yeah, now it's every other hour. But for fucking hell, I don't blame him though, man. He's probably got like 3 hours. He's probably got like 6 hours of sleep in the last 3 days.
Ooh, it struck me. Well, we're not just trying to bully Turkey here, right? For anyone who doesn't know, the Turks. This is like a.
I am.
Oh, I am.
Yeah,
I am. Yeah.
yeah. You could absolutely justify it. The Turks were fucking not backstabbing. It's a complicated thing, right? Who backstabbed who doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. But they're absolutely 100% were supporting, backing ISIS. Not backing, but assisting ISIS.
Yeah. See those guys, Tavid Vajahad. Those guys, I know for a fact, run a training camp in Afghanistan. Those are Uzbek guys. They absolutely get trained in Afghanistan, and they've been getting trained in Afghanistan for years as well, even pre fall of Kabul and everything. So they've been out in Afghanistan for a long fucking time. And I know a bunch of James. You remember IMU?
Yep.
I know a bunch of IMU guys fight with those guys in Syria.
Yep.
And obviously IMU is very linked in with Al Qaeda.
No. they all fall under the. Actually, they've been under the Haqqani sphere for like a decade, right?
Yeah. Especially IMU. IMU was fighting side by side with the Taliban fucking in Afghanistan for years, man. Like they've been in there for ages.
Oh, the question. John, can you pin that?
What?
The top question from Excel.
It depends on if it shows up. Not everything shows up here. So, what question?
Asked earlier what the Taliban and Al Qaeda get from training these groups.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Well, the export jihad, right? So that's kind of one of their main goals is to export the jihad everywhere.
I would describe Al Qaeda as international accelerationist jihadist.
Yeah, that's a very good. I agree with that. Definitely.
So,
and also, they benefit from the Iranians losing in Syria as well.
Oh yeah, but then also what's interesting is like the caretaker of Al Qaeda, Saif al-Adel, like he's supposed to be in Iran,
He's in Afghanistan.
I mean, he is now.
Oh yeah, what's the word of that? Is he actually in charge of Al Qaeda now, or is
No, no,
it?
no. Bin
no,
Laden's
Or is
son
it?
is.
But
Yeah,
yeah, that's
Hamza.
what I heard. That's what I heard. It was It
But
was Hamza.
he's their caretaker. So like when Bin Laden died, he was the temporary leader until the Shura elected a new one.
Yeah, yeah, Zawahiri. Yeah,
Yeah. And then when he died, he was the caretaker again until the Shura elected a new one.
yeah, which is Hamza, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Hamza bin
Yeah.
Laden, who
Yeah, yeah.
is married to Haqqani's sister.
Yeah. Oh God. Do you think the other faction of the Taliban, not the Haqqani faction, the other faction?
Kandahar's and Helmandius.
Yeah, yeah. You think they're eventually gonna like lose their grip of control of the Taliban?
Uh, probably. The okay. So for the Taliban, right, you have a sort of hierarchy of authority that's sort of based on who's older, more experienced, right?
Yeah,
Their main leader currently, Mullah Akhundzada, he's old as
I don't
shit.
believe he's real.
Yeah. he's real. He's just senile and just doesn't leave his apartment. Not apartment, a little compound, right? They actually he put up a bunch of brick walls to keep it because he never leaves home, right? They put up a bunch of brick
He wears
walls around his
aluminum
house.
foil on his head.
Yeah, basically. He probably has a venereal disease that gives him literal brain rot, right?
Whoa.
He's just not. It's a mixture of him not being all there and him backing his. You're trying to do nepotism with his family members and clan members, right?
right.
And which is annoying for the Talibs, right? Because, well, Afghanistan values knowledge, intelligence, deafness, experience, etc. Right?
Drugs.
What drugs? That too.
Yeah,
But Akhundzada sort of just is like lost or mentally caught in like the 13th century.
yeah.
He's
Fucking
just behind mentally.
yeah. He's not with the times. He's not cool with the kids. Fucking. Oh yeah, something that you might find interesting as well, you guys. Obviously, you know that the ISKP was like operating out of Baluchistan for a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, still are.
Still are. But you know how there's the Baluchistan like separatist groups.
BLA. Fuck.
Yeah, BLA.
There's three of them.
Yeah, BLA,
BNA,
BNA, and there's one really small one other than that.
BLF.
Yeah, BLF. But and
I'm
then there's
guessing. I'm just trying to recall because I know we do the terrorist tier list and we always put
yeah.
the
Oh, I
Bluch
love
groups
that
on
though.
there.
That was fucking sick.
Yeah,
but
we'll
yeah,
probably do another one. It should be February when the new index comes out.
But yeah, you know the BLA. They've got incredibly close links with the PKK now. Like,
Yes, they like have a sister struggle.
yeah, not it's more like it's very like basically I've been told that BLA guys are in Candle with PKK leadership. And
Mark-
that wouldn't surprise me because I've seen a lot of BLA guys on Telegram like promoting Abdullah Öcalan's theory and his like writings and stuff like that, and the BLA's got starting to get a lot more women fighters and stuff. I think the BLA is trying to copy like the PKK model, but for Baluchistan, essentially.
What's interesting about them is they also, because like when ISIS in Afghanistan and Pakistan was like virtually inoperable when like Trump dropped the mother of all bombs on them and shit, they would basically contract out their attacks and they worked with the BLA during those attacks. So there's like ISIS and BLA links
Yeah.
There's Haqqani links to them as well, so it's very interesting that they also have links to like Kurdish movements. Also, they're not. It depends on the person to person, but they're way more nationalist than they are Islamist.
Oh yeah, the Islamism really doesn't play a part in the BLA. Like, they're basically just like liberatory nationalist. But they've been spreading a lot of their Telegram chats have been talking about like the PKK feminism genealogy.
Mm-hmm.
They've been spreading a lot of that sort of stuff in their Telegram chats, which has been interesting. Which also coincides with a lot of them using female fighters for attacks.
Which,
They use
I mean, I think the last jihadi group, even though they're not jihadi, they're like jihadi adjacent. I think the last one to do that was Hamas.
Yeah, I think so.
There's that one famous picture of the mother holding the Quran and the rifle.
Yeah.
With her kids. And she later did a suicide bombing.
Yeah, that's what I think most of the BLA suicide bombings have actually been women. Not men.
Or not just women, educated women at that, right?
Yeah. Like
the most prominent one was like Masters. Her husband didn't even know that she was gone.
Yeah. Fucking they also used a lot of women to shoot up fucking Chinese businessmen in Baluchistan.
Yeah, because China deals with the Pakistani government.
Oh yeah, did you hear that the Chinese tried to basically ask the Taliban to tell the TTP to stop killing them in Pakistan, and the Taliban told them to fuck off.
What did they expect?
Akhundzada being senile, right? Actually, Afghanistan is very close with the Chinese, right? They've been restraining TTP, assisting them, etc., right? Actually, TTP stopped attacking China because the Afghanis are like, hey, dude, chill. The Chinese are giving us our entire intelligence network, right?
Well, the intelligence network that got fucking doxed.
Yeah, they could. This is incredibly funny, right? There's a Chinese. There's two groups of people who are, I guess, digitally hitting the tops, right? There's guys who worked for the previous Afghan government, the Afghan Green Trend, right?
Yeah. And then there's that other group. I think they're like new.
Talib Leaks. Yeah.
Yeah, Talib Leaks. Yeah.
Talib Leaks. Yeah.
so
that's such a.
Bro, they completely
it's
fucking.
Like everything is fucking like whatever gate, you know? Now everything is blank leaks.
Bro, they fucking doxed the MSS in Kabul, bro.
It was the funniest shit ever. So the Chinese government's also pissed. So you can see like when they've talked about it, the MSS has been trying to counter hit them, right? Hasn't been too successful, but you can sort of fairly say that the Taliban and the Chinese government are like, well, not the Taliban, Afghanistan and the Chinese government are. Iran is closer with the Akhundzada and the Halmanis and Kandaharis. So I guess, yeah, that's why that's why he kind of told China to fuck off, because China is closer with the Afghanis, and he's trying to not put the Afghanis in their place. He's trying to sort of sideline them.
Yeah.
That's just not going to work at all.
Yeah, definitely not. Fucking hell, man. But
let's go. We're number 2 in politics on Twitch right now.
Holy shit!
Impressive.
But fucking
politics is a very small category on Twitch.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yes, it is good to be at the top of it.
Yeah, of course. I went on if you want to get on someone's stream who gets quite a lot of views, I will definitely let you on. There's a kind of lefty streamer called Lonerbox who's covering. Well, they've mainly been doing live streams like every day covering Gaza, Israel, Lebanon, but they're also covering Syria now. And I've jumped in a couple times on there. He basically, if you join his Discord and jump in the waiting room, he'll basically let you talk on the stream. And I basically explained to him what the fuck's going on in Syria, and he had like 1,000 viewers when I was doing that. So you might want to,
1,000 viewers.
yeah.
Oh,
So
I
you
thought
might
you said
want to.
1,000 views.
Oh no,
Yeah, because he's
1,000
probably
viewers.
in just chatting because everyone goes in there. Once you're big enough on politics, you just navigate to just chatting because it's a bigger.
Oh no, I think he only streams on YouTube. I think he doesn't stream on Twitch because of the TOS policies on Twitch.
Well, that's the thing with us on YouTube. They don't like us because we reported on the Houthi. And
yeah, it's
showed
weird.
terrorist
It's weird
materials.
because like you can show combat footage on YouTube, but like you might not be able to show like propaganda videos. It's really weird. But like the opposite is true on Twitch. On Twitch, you can't show any combat of anything whatsoever, but you can show propaganda shit.
So I saw this tweet earlier, and it fucking killed me. So like Abu Azazel, right? Like,
Oh,
do you think the dude could actually fight? No. It's like,
no,
what do they expect him to go do in Syria?
bro,
There's no
he's like a
civilians
fucking.
to kill where they need
You know
him.
what he does? He's like a gym influencer now. He runs a gym that is
I
like
know.
only fucking PMF guys go to, and they're all on the all of them inject what's that shit that used to be
Synthol.
yeah, synthol. Yeah, they all inject synthol and shit. Do you remember back in the day when for some reason a bunch of PMF and like Assad guys were doing that and posting about it online? Like they were just getting
Yeah,
huge
well,
ones. Like what the fuck was
on our
that?
terrorist tier list, we have one of the pictures we put on there for that militia is just a guy who's like synthalled up and holding a gun to his head.
Oh shit.
So
Oh,
like Abu
yeah, man.
Azazel, he's like he carries a sword around because he thinks he's cool for carrying a sword.
Yeah, it's like, bro, you're
Sometimes he'll
behind.
carry an axe.
It's like you're behind the trend, bro. US soft guys were carrying swords and axes in Afghanistan in 2011, bro. Get with the times.
I mean, that's I don't think you can be serious if you're affiliated with the IRGC. Honestly, at this
You
point.
just can't. Yeah, especially right now. God, the Iranians are not having a good time right now, man. Like the Hezbollah just finished getting it kicked in Lebanon. Fucking Hamas is pretty degraded. Assad is getting the shit kicked out of him. Like they've got to be really fucking worried right now.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Is like now would be a good time for a revolution to start.
Oh yeah, 100%.
If a revolution started in Iran, you could basically guarantee Assad falling.
Yeah. Speaking of Iran, when the uprising happened, obviously it started in the Kurdish areas. You know how there's the Kurdish insurgency groups in Iran, and obviously there's PJAK, which is the PKK branch, and then there's like PKDI, and then there's like Kamal, which is like the fucking Kamala, which is the Marxist-Leninist guys. When the uprising was happening and afterwards, a lot of Kurdish, like young, like 18-year-olds, like a lot of Kurdish youth joined up with those insurgent groups and went to Kandil for training. A lot of them did, and as far as I know, they went back across the border like basically a year later, and are like basically waiting for the next big protest to start.
Whoa.
What?
Well, wait. How many militants are there actually in Iran? Just a question.
What insurgent groups?
Yeah, not insurgent groups. How many like guys do they have? Like between them? Do you
well,
have any
it's
idea?
I've got a good guess. My guess would be PJAC, which is like the PKK branch. Probably like 2,000-ish guys. A lot of them are headquartered in Kandil, though, on technically in the KRG. But even though Kandil and those mountains on the Iran-Iraq border are technically under KRG control, like de facto, the PKK controls that. Like the PKK control, like even the villages. Like the government basically has no fucking autonomy in that part of the border region. Like you know how like all the jihadis go to Afghanistan for training.
Mhm.
All the Kurdish insurgent groups all go to Kandil. Like this basically their mini Afghan like training center. Like they all just go to Kandil for safe haven and training. And then obviously there's a couple of the smaller Kurdish groups that are independent from the PKK, but obviously still collaborate, like the PDKI, and then there's Kamala, which is like the ML groups. Between them, they've probably got like 1,000 guys each. But
I'm just
in
loving
Iran,
chat right now because they thought I was showing people kicking a real head around for a second.
Lamar, but the thing is, especially with the Kurdish Iranian groups, they might only have like 1,000 or 2,000 fighters, but their network in Rojava, which is obviously you've got Rojava, which just means west in Kurdish, which is in Syria. Rojava means east, which is Iranian Kurdistan. They have a massive like underground support network in Iranian Kurdistan. Like, so you have thousands of guys and that aren't fighters, but are supporters and have do a lot of other stuff like propaganda, financing, logistics, smuggling, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so here's the green buses you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. This guy in the video, basically, he's refuting the Turkish propaganda that was coming out, saying that the Kurds were leaving Sheikh Maksud when that's not happening. They've seized the green buses, and from what I've been told, they are going to be used to evacuate Kurdish civilians from Tel Rafat.
Okay.
Is basically the SDF is basically fighting a delaying action in Tel Rafat against the SNA, and their plan is to basically evacuate every single Kurd from all of Tel Rafat, like Kurdish civilian, and ship them back to Manbij and Raqqa,
So
essentially.
we've also, speaking about this, we've seen some reports of HTS actually reaching out to make deals with the SDF to turn on Assad. Do we think that has any influence on the offensives that have happened against Assad and the SDF?
Yeah, 100%, because initially the SDF's only concern when the offensive started was protecting their neighborhoods in Aleppo because they thought HTS was going to try and take them as well. But as soon as they came to agreement with the HTS that the SDF were there to stay and weren't going to get in HTS's way fighting the regime, then that opened up the SDF to attack the regime more, which is what they did. So as long as HTS leaves the SDF alone in Aleppo, I can see them, I wouldn't say fighting together, but semi-collaborating against the regime. The SNA are out of the fucking picture when it comes to that, though. They're just going to attack the Kurds no matter what. But I'm hoping that the SDF and HDS come to an agreement, and the fact that the SNA are only fighting the Kurds and not the regime starts to really piss HDS off. That's my hope. But we'll see.
I mean, they have fought the Turkish forces before. I'm not sure what faction, but I know it has happened.
Well, like for the past few years, how... Go on, sorry.
Muslim Opti just tweeted, events in northwest Syria developed rapidly and suddenly as their forces faced intense attacks from several sides. the collapse and withdrawal of the Syrian army and its allies, we intervened to open a humanitarian corridor between our eastern regions, Aleppo, and the Tal Rafat region to protect our people from massacres. But attacks by armed groups supported by the Turkish occupation cut off this corridor. Our forces bravely defended our people in Aleppo, Tal Rafat, and Al-Shabaab. We are working to communicate with all actors in Syria to secure the protection of our people to safely evacuate from the Tel Rafat and Al-Shabaab areas towards our safe areas in the northeast of the country, while our forces continue to resist to protect our people in the Kurdish neighborhoods of Aleppo. So,
Yeah, it's exactly what I said, basically.
yep.
Yeah, basically, fuck, what was I going to say? But yeah, as long as HTS leaves the Kurds in Sheikh Maksud in Aleppo, there won't be any real problems between HTS and the SNA. I mean, the HTS and the SDF. I think, honestly, if the current state of things continue, there's a good chance that HTS are basically going to try and tell the Turks or the SNA to either stop attacking the SDF or at least like just chill the fuck out, because they're really like threatening the peace in Aleppo if the SNA.
Well, I mean, not only that.
Fuck, where'd he go?
It's okay.
He'll be
He's
back.
already back up. Hang on, I got him.
But yeah, the
Anyway.
SNA is really threatening the peace between Kurds and Arabs in Aleppo if they continue. And from what I can tell about Jelani, he's more bothered about stability than pleasing Turkey. So he might just tell the SNA to pack it in.
The image that they have to upkeep, people are just going to see the SNA as HTS. I mean, people have already said that Turkey is leading this entire operation. A lot of credible journalists have said this. A lot of
Yeah, which isn't really true on HTS's part. The HTS basically kind of did this by themselves. Obviously, the Turks are telling the SNA what to do because, well, that's the SNA's job.
Yeah, and to expand on what you said, the day before they launched this assault, Assad killed about a dozen civilians. And so, like, the next day they launched the assault.
But one thing, though, I know HTS are saying that this has happened because of the bombing in Idlib, but they've been preparing for this for months.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
well,
they did.
Yeah, the other thing is, especially in October, both sides, Assad and HTS, were building up forces.
Yeah,
not just building up force. I'm pretty sure Ashton al-Caucasus, they had them. HTS had them raiding and probing Assad's positions, right?
Yeah. And those were the positions they hit first as well, by the way. The same positions they raided. They were probing the defensive line to see where's the weakest link. Also...
Turns out all of it.
Yeah, all of it, basically. Also, the Turks knew that HTS was going to do this because they were sending military police into Idlib months ago.
Oh, shit. To offset their manpower.
Yeah. To keep Idlib stable in case anything happened while the majority of the fighters are outside Idlib.
Well, also the propaganda that HTS has showed where they're like, hey, we deployed our own garbage cleaners.
Yeah.
And I was reading, somebody said that their electricity is better since HTS took over the city.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, so obviously if all the HTS's internal police guys need to manage the new areas they've taken, then the Turkish military police will just take the job that they were doing in Idlib to offset that. But yeah, man, like, really that
shit was mind-blowing. I've never seen jihadis roll out, immediate infrastructure as they take places like that.
Yeah. That's how you can tell that HTS is planning to keep whatever they take. Like, even if they don't topple Assad, they're keeping whatever they've taken. Like, Assad's never getting Aleppo back, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, it took him 4 years before.
Exactly, he's never getting it back. Like, but
and that's another thing. Assad is weaker than he's ever been, I think, at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because Hezbollah is not moving out of Lebanon right now. That's why they waited, by the way. They waited for months to start this for the right time, and as soon as the fighting in Lebanon started, that's when they struck because all of Hezbollah guys were tied down in Lebanon. And
So what do we
Hezbollah
think?
were
We think this is
mostly
going to be over by the Trump comes in, or we think Trump's going to affect this?
uh
Oh,
I don't know. Honestly, if it continues at this pace, Assad might be fucked in a couple weeks. But we'll see. We'll see if it continues at this pace. I think, honestly, the biggest factor holding back the regime's collapse right now is, unironically, the SNA. Because if the SDF
I
doesn't
agree.
have if the SDF doesn't have to worry about SNA attacks, they will fucking sweep the regime. Like the SDF will gladly, especially their Arab militias, because a lot of people forget more than half
Yeah,
of the
Deir
SDF.
ez-Zor is like no Kurds in the fucking
Yeah,
SDF.
yeah. You got to remember, half of the SDF are Arab militias. Like the guys that are holding the corridor from Takba to Aleppo for the SDF right now are Arab militias, not Kurds. Which is
So
very
like all
smart
through
on their part.
here,
Yeah, yeah,
this whole region right here.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
not
yeah.
on the right screen. Hang on.
Oh.
This whole region right here,
Yeah, Arabs.
all
Yeah,
Arabs.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
is interesting because a few months back it was another it was so hard to keep track of because there was attacks on Kurdish positions here, but then also up in here.
yeah. What happened
And
was,
up in here it was Turkmen attacks.
yeah, yeah,
And down here it was Iranian. And everyone was reporting it incorrectly.
yeah, yeah. Everyone was saying, "Oh, yeah, like local Arab tribes." Like, bro, they were literally
No.
based. They were based on the other side of the Euphrates in an IRGC base, and the leader of the Arabs that were attacking the SDF in that position has literally. There's literally pictures of him fucking standing next to IRGC commanders in Deir ez-Zor. Like,
And then like
but,
people would post the Kurdish positions using Iranian equipment and be like, see, Iran's backing this side. It's actually the Arab militias rebelling.
yeah,
And
yeah,
those would be like people who would be like free Syrians who are loyal to Turkey and stuff.
yeah,
But then
yeah,
up
yeah,
here, I think that the Turkmens who are just taking advantage of the situation and got in on it,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like how
Basically,
SNA is right now.
yeah, yeah, basically. But yeah, like if the SNA wasn't attacking, then the SDF would have already pushed out of Raqqa and into central Syria and over the Euphrates and into the rest of Deir ez-Zor by now. Because that's what they were planning on. Like that's literally like reinforcements were sent to Raqqa and Deir ez-Zor to do that fucking 2 days ago. And I was being told by those guys that yeah, we're pushing the regime. We're gonna push the regime. But obviously they've mostly been told basically dig in, hold what already got seized by us from the regime, and dig in. And they sent like half of those guys that got sent to the regime held areas that they took back up to Manbij and other border areas with the SNA because they think the Turks are going to attack.
Wait, related question. Do you think the SNA is going to like cut its shit out because of the Russian airstrikes against them?
Nah, probably not. Like the Russian airstrikes have been heavy, but like it's not like what the Russians used to be able to do. Like the Russian Air Force used to be able to just basically crush any faction they wanted, man. Like back, but now they can't. One, they haven't even got the pilots to do it. A lot of their pilots are dead, including a lot of their pilots that flew in Syria are dead in Ukraine. Obviously, a lot of the Air Force is in Ukraine. Like they just don't have the capacity to even do it. Even a lot of their bombs and munitions are all in Ukraine. So like even their stockpiles of weapons in Syria is just not enough for a real sustained air campaign against the SNA. Honestly, I know Muslim Abdi has been asking the US to basically give air cover for the SDF against the SNA, but obviously the US isn't trying to do that because they're afraid of Turkey. But
I mean, a few years ago they might have been able to.
Yeah, a few years ago they might have, but Biden's not really doing anything now. But fucking God, man, honestly, like if I was in charge of U.S. foreign policy right now, bro, I'd be telling the CIA to do some 60s style shit and start fucking funding the PKK in Turkey, man. Fucking hell, man. Or at least trying to fucking topple Erdogan and replace him with someone. Like, fucking hell, man.
Yeah, he's awful.
Like, Jesus, bro. Like, he's even against US interests. That's what I don't get about the US position with Turkey right now. Like, Turkey doesn't benefit, is like against US interests in almost every region in the Middle East right now. Like, what are they doing? They're backing Haftar. They're sending the SNA to work as mercs
Oh,
for
no.
the fucking.
Turkey's backing.
Oh no,
Tripoli,
not
yeah.
backing Haftar. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
backing Tripoli. Sorry, They're sending the SNA to work as mercs for the pro-Russian fucking juntas in West Africa. They're sending SNA guys to fight, and obviously they're supporting the Azeris to ethnically cleanse the Armenians. Like, they're fucking with the Kurds. They're fucking with the Kurds in Iraq and Syria and Turkey. Like, where do they align with US wise on foreign policy in this? Like,
We're
they
NATO
just,
members.
but I mean, but that's it. Other than that, like they're not really aligning with US interests, which I don't know. It's just surprising that the US tolerates it so much.
Yeah, well, I think a big part of it is actually the Ukraine war, or the
Yeah,
war
true.
in Ukraine.
Yeah, true. Yeah, they want the Turks to keep helping Ukraine, and obviously the Turks will probably say, "Hey, if you stop fucking with our interests with the Kurds in the Middle East, we might stop funding Ukraine." Yeah, definitely.
I don't know
But
what
still,
happened
though,
to James.
no, he might just be having problems.
He
Oh, I can
died.
still hear him. I can still hear him. But yeah, man. When it comes to
Can barely hear him.
My mic shit out, and
okay.
camera shit out.
We can hear you though.
Yeah, just
At least I
you
can.
know, you can
Back in a
try to
second.
refresh or something.
But
Anyway.
fucking, yeah.
I've been talking about this for years. The issue, like Biden is famously anti-Erdogan too. Like
Yeah.
he like on the debate stage, leading like they were the question about our Kurdish allies was asked to them, and it's like one of the best moments in our like primary debates, because like Tulsi was on the stage and like I think Kamala Harris dunks on her, calling her an Assadist. Like, but I think because of Ukraine and the necessity for fast tracking other people who wanted to join NATO, I mean, Turkey already made demands to get Kurds fucked over in these countries. So
yeah. You got the Swedes and the Finns to fuck the Kurdish diaspora over. Yeah.
yeah, that was fucking crazy that happened. But that's what I think is really going on with Turkey.
Yeah, I think honestly, if the Ukraine war didn't start, well, I shouldn't say start, but escalated. I think Biden would be more hawkish against Turkey because
I agree.
like the thing is as well, like the US position with the SDF and between the SDF and Turkey, while Biden's been admin, has been weird. Like, yeah, they've been against green light in a new ground campaign, which Erdogan was trying to get run in from 2021, 2022, and 2023 against the Kurds. They've never green lighted a ground offensive, but they just don't give. They never like stop the Turks from bombing Rojava from the air, which has been like a massive problem.
I mean, I believe the U.S. and one of the more recent ones, I want to say it was a Turkish drone, but the U.S. had to shoot it down because it was striking a U.S. position.
Yeah, but the Turks have done that plenty of times, man. Like, one thing that was kept quiet when I was in Syria, Turkish artillery injured a bunch of US servicemen on the border in Rojava, and that was kept quiet. Like, um, like those guys could have died, bro. Like they got serious injuries from Turkish artillery, and it just got swept under the rug. Bro, fucking, I almost forgot. The last year, the Turks had a fucking TB2 drop a bomb like 200 meters away from a convoy in Erbil Airport that a US convoy that Muslim Abdi was traveling in fucking the airport in Erbil. Like they literally, like they were driving down the road to the airport in a US diplomatic convoy with the military leader of the SDF, and a Turkish TB2 dropped a bomb like 100 meters off the side of the road from the convoy. And then Turkish media said that Mazlum Abdi was dead, and a few hours later he posted a video of himself like smiling and playing guitar in fucking Rojava to troll them.
So speaking of people who are dead, regime-affiliated media were saying they killed Jelani.
Oh yeah, but that was bullshit. Yeah,
So
yeah, that was funny.
how do we know it's bullshit?
The picture is already been reverse image searched and it's years old. At least they picked a guy that looked a bit like him, though.
Oh, they actually posted a body? That's so funny.
Yeah, they
I didn't know
posted
they
a
did that.
picture. They posted a picture of a guy's face, and it does look a bit like him. The beard's very similar, but it's not him. Do you know what it reminds me of? Do you remember? I think it might have been 2 years ago when Biden launched the raid into SNA-controlled Syria and killed the head of ISIS.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2 years ago, and they
always on the Turkish border, huh?
Yeah, isn't it funny how every head of ISIS has been killed in Turkish-controlled Syria? Isn't that so weird? I wonder why that's the case. Yeah, they posted that raid was insane, by the way. One of the fucking helicopters ended up crashing halfway there, and the guys had to get picked up and drove back. And when they got there, a bunch of ISIS guys came out and started firing at the helicopters and shit. And they ended up just dropping a hellfire on the guy, on the head of ISIS, and they literally blew his body out of a window and onto the street.
Why would the U.S. care about what Turkey does to the Kurds when they clearly don't care about genocide? The U.S. clearly doesn't care. That's the issue.
Yeah, that's the problem.
They clearly do not care what Turkey does.
Yeah, that's kind of the main problem. Like, they need to start caring.
That's also just like, if you look at U.S. interests, they could literally have a second Israel in the Middle East.
Yeah, like, bro, if the US really backed the SDF, like that would be their best ally in the Middle East, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bar none. Like, fuck Israel at that point. Like it wouldn't
That's why
even.
they won't do it, because then people will say, "But how are we supposed to say Israel is our best ally?"
Yeah, true. And also, it would finally stop people from calling Israel the only democracy in the Middle East.
Well, even that, like, Lebanon is technically working as a democracy just because Hezbollah is part of it, because they can get votes in their districts.
Obviously, it's
Iraq is a democracy just because it's one-sided, because the U.S. set up a bad government doesn't make it not a democracy.
Yeah. But yeah, man, honestly, like, fuck me, man. I just feel like US foreign policy regarding Turkey and the Kurds has been fucking just dog shit for US interests. Like, it's not. I just feel like the US is kind of going against their own interest when it comes to.
The Jordanians are a constitutional monarchy with a parliament.
Yeah.
I mean, Egypt was a democracy for a second there.
Oh, also, I've been thinking. I don't know. You two might
The
have
real
some thoughts
democracy
about
in the
this.
Middle East is Turkey. I mean, Turkey is a democracy as well.
I mean, sort of a
They're more
democracy.
democratic than Iraq.
No,
James seems to still be figuring out. I can see
I
his
wouldn't
wheels
say
are
they are.
turning.
I would say they're
His
less
mic isn't
democratic than,
working.
bro. I'd say they're less democratic than Iraq. Like, bro,
Really?
half of the fucking politicians in the Kurdish party are in prison right now, and
That's true.
like every fucking month, like they replace elected Kurdish officials and just put an AKP politician in their place. Like that's why there's big protests in northern Kurdistan right now against the government because they keep doing it. But I've got a feeling though, and this is just speculation on my part. But since the rebels in the south bordering the Jordanian border have picked up arms again, you think the Jordanians will support them like they did in the past?
I don't know. But here on Freedom House, which is not the best source, but it's like a gamification of it. It has Turkey at 33 for
Yeah,
political rights and civil liberties, which I believe is way lower than they were last year. I want
yeah,
to say they were yellow last year. What do you
bro.
think Iraq is if Turkey's 33?
Maybe 35 or 40.
The Iraq is 30, so they're basically
Oh,
the same,
okay.
according to this.
I would honestly say that. Iraq's more of a democracy than Turkey because, um, it's basic. Like in the elections in Turkey are completely rigged in Kurdish areas.
Mm-hmm.
Like they literally send the soldiers that are sent from the army deployed in Kurdish areas to vote in Kurdish areas, like to rig the vote. Like it's insane.
Yeah, and that's another thing because people were saying we talk about how this year basically all incumbents lost their elections,
Yeah,
but I forgot Turkey also had an election, and he was one of the incumbents that held on. So that's India,
before that,
Mexico, and Turkey
he hung
were
on by
some
a
of the
thread.
only incumbents to hold on.
He hung on by a thread.
Yeah,
And if there wasn't massive vote rigging in Kurdish areas, he might have lost. Um, Obviously, he can't just openly rig the vote like he does in Kurdish areas in the rest of Turkey. But he probably would have lost. Also, in Turkey as well, there's a weird dynamic that the diasporoids fucking vote basically all Erdogan, even though they're all in Germany and fucking Paris and London. Like they all fucking vote Erdogan from Europe. So that skews the vote a lot. By the way, have you seen what the British police are doing to the Kurdish community in London right now?
oh yeah, that's fucked up as well.
Yeah, bro. They're fucking collaborating with the Turks and trying to extradite.
Yeah, there's that footage of like a masked guy speaking Turkish.
Yeah. There was another one as well that was spotted. Who's probably some sort of either Turkish like federal police or fucking MIT. With Turkey though, do you know that Turkey has Turkey has an unofficial intelligence agency that's technically illegal.
I mean, aren't technically all intelligence agencies illegal?
No, I mean, but like according to Turkish law, like it's supposed to not even exist. Like, basically, the Turkish gendarme, like they're police, but they're like militarized. They have their own like unofficial illegal intelligence agency that only answers to them that they set up, and it's basically ran by the Grey Wolves.
It's like the Chinese secret
Jesus
police.
Christ.
Yeah, like a lot of people don't know this. Like a lot of people like they talk about like the deep state and stuff in the West. But in Turkey, there is unironically a deep state and it's just the Grey Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was an infamous incident in the early 2000s where one of the top leaders of the Grey Wolves and like one of the heads of the Turkish police were in the same car together, and they died in a car crash together. And like basically the Grey Wolves like completely infiltrated the Turkish army, the MIT, and the Turkish police. Like they basically run it.
I mean,
There's Grey
can
Wolves
happen
fighting.
anywhere.
There's Grey Wolves fighting in the SNA. There's an entire Grey Wolf
Mhm.
unit in the SNA right now.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the SNA has an entire unit that's just Grey Wolves from Turkey.
Why did you replace me with a palm? Bro, you can come in if you want.
Wait, James, you know who the Grey Wolves are, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Turkish, basically neo-Ottoman ultranationalists.
Well, I'd say they're
We
more like
have done a little bit of an episode on them, actually.
But yeah, James, you
Hang
know
on.
they're like
Let me promote my thing.
they yeah, go on, sorry.
So if you go to the 5th Gen YouTube page and you go to our playlist, you can go to LTech, and we have an interview with Modern Insurgent on there, and we actually dive into the Grey Wolves in that episode.
Yeah. You know the how the Grey Wolves commit like terrorism, like and stuff, like in foreign countries. Yeah, like the Grey Wolves are basically just like a part of the MIT. Like the MIT just completely manages them. But also the MIT is also full of Grey Wolves anyway, so they're basically one in the same. Like they're extremely infiltrated all over the Turkish government.
I don't remember what country it was exactly. I want to say Germany.
Yeah, they've got
This
a
year there was
massive
like
presence.
attacks on Kurdish people by Grey Wolves there.
Yeah. They've got the Grey Wolves have a fucking huge presence in Germany. I forgot his name, but I remember seeing this German journalist that used to cover the Stasi like intelligence network in East Germany and West Germany back in the day. And last year he was saying that the Grey Wolf MIT network in Germany is bigger than the Stasi ever were, which is fucking insane.
Jesus Christ. Oh, wait, aren't like 10% of Germany's population like descended from Turks or ethnically Turkish?
Yeah, like something like that. Like you got to remember, bro. Like every single fucking Turkish community center in Germany is basically run by the Grey Wolves, and they're like shell organizations.
Did I say Modern Insurgent or did I say something else?
Modern Insurgent, yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Modern Insurgent just released a documentary on Lebanon, by the way. They've also got a really good documentary in Northern Ireland as well.
Yeah, they should come and promote it with us. Everyone
Wait,
go harass them and say, "How come you know promote documentary?" With
wait,
Fifth Gen.
John, you're like Irish or something, right?
Ethnically.
You know, a bunch of the paramilitaries in Northern Ireland are all 3D printing guns now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's the funny thing about Ireland. It's even in the South, like you had this whole period where you were revolutionary and fighting British, and now their gun laws are like super strict. So like, of course, you have people 3D printing guns. The thing is like, what are you 3D printing guns for, bro?
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, basically, the paramilitaries in Northern Ireland are just gangs now. Like, they're just drug dealers now. Like, and they do the whole propaganda
that's what I
thing.
say. Is if you're a terrorist group, you either get legitimized and end up de-radicalizing because you're part of the government.
Yeah.
Which
Or
is what we see like with Adams, or you become drug dealers.
Yeah, like what happened to FARC and stuff.
Yeah, FARC is the perfect example. Hezbollah as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, like the paramilitaries in Northern Ireland, like they love to do this weird propaganda shit where they like pretend they're against drug dealers and they'll kneecap drug dealers, but like they're only doing that to their competition. Like
Mhm.
they just do that to their competition and get them off their turf so they can do their stuff freely.
I mean, that's the Taliban drug rehabilitation program that
Yeah,
everyone
yeah,
was
yeah,
releasing them for.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, they just kill the competition and take over the rest and monopolize the market. But I was
People forget that the Taliban came to power by basically withdrawing all the heroin from the market, so it skyrocketed in price.
yeah, exactly. Fucking hell, man. Also, haven't I think I read this like last year. Aren't the Taliban switching more to methamphetamine?
Yeah, they started. Well, in their territory, they started growing ephedra. So
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
mixture of both.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
And
I know I don't know how to say this without like fucking Fed posting. Put it this way.
Go on.
Basically, there's in Europe, a lot of the heroin comes from Afghanistan, and from what I've been told by guys in the know, a lot of the European gangs stopped getting heroin from South America because it's laced with fentanyl, and the heroin in Afghanistan doesn't have any fentanyl in it, and that's why they prefer it.
Well, also, the switch to methamphetamine, what we have to keep in mind is I think it's the Golden Crescent there, but Myanmar is a huge poppy growing place, and
Oh yeah,
there's
yeah.
currently no status quo there. Some rebel groups have been completely against growing poppy, but the government itself is growing the poppies. Like,
Oh yeah, and then
it's the best
there's
way to
the
make money there if you're a farmer.
yeah, yeah, and
So that's
also they
competition
do a
that they
lot of
can't
the
control.
yeah, they do a lot of jade mining and stuff there as well, don't they?
Yeah,
like,
actually, the
yeah.
company I used to work for, we sold Burmese jade, but we sold it
Fucking
as
hell.
like something else, like I don't know.
Oh yeah, John,
Thailand or something.
you know, a bunch of YPG international veterans have got a unit in Myanmar now. You know,
Mm.
yeah, they're fighting with the PDF. They're fighting
Is
with the
them-
PDF in Myanmar.
wait, is that the Free Burma Rangers?
No, 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 no. I think they use the Free Burma Ranger contacts to get in country because the Free Burma Rangers are heavily involved in Rojava. So it wouldn't surprise me if they use their contacts in the Free Burma Rangers to get into country. But right now, there's a unit made up of YPG international veterans and volunteers that are training and fighting with the PDF in Myanmar.
So I found this really funny source here, and we're gonna play a game to say, like, hey, you think this is bias?
Okay.
So it says Russia has ramped up an air campaign against United Nation terrorists in Aleppo.
Oh God. DD geopolitics. Jesus Christ, man.
They're reportedly striking every 15 to 20 minutes.
Jesus Christ, man.
What do we think about that? We think that there's that amount of airstrikes going off?
No,
No.
it's not. No, it's not even
No.
close to that. There are airstrikes,
Wait.
but it's not close to that.
Wait, how many airframes do the Russians even have in Syria? Like 10
Bro.
at this point?
Bro, they probably have like, yeah, probably like a handful at this point. What I've been curious about, though, is that the Turkish Air Force is basically nowhere to be seen.
Well, you don't want to look like you're totally involved, right? Then that will ruin your negotiations with Assad.
I guess.
Turkey's playing both sides, so they always come out on top.
Yeah, true. That's what they always do.
As my Turkish friends, it's just good business.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, the Russians like have like a handful of airframes left in Syria. Most of all this stuff is in Ukraine right now.
Can you imagine if Gary Johnson went to Aleppo with HTS though?
Oh my god.
That would be great.
Bro,
man.
Honestly-
I can't wait. Bro, I can't wait until there's a fucking CNN crew or something in Aleppo. That shit's gonna
Yeah.
be insane.
Western journalists have really dropped the ball on this shit.
Yeah.
Like you could talk to like so many people who are reporting on the ground. Like I've shown many of them who are literally there, like vlogging northwest Syria.
Yeah, bro, like fucking hell. Like the amount of established sources and OSINTers that have worked on Syria since the beginning.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the entire open source intelligence industry exists because of
Because
Syria.
of Syria, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, bro, even you probably
Like
know
I remember being friends with a guy called Brown Moses.
Oh yeah, yeah.
and for now known as Bellingcat.
Yeah. Bro,
But like
fucking
he had a blog spot. That's how far back it goes. Y'all remember
yeah,
blog
bro.
spot?
Fucking bro, do you remember the account Woofers? The OSINT guy.
Oh yeah, he's back.
Yeah, he's back.
He's still around, right?
Yeah, he's back. He was on hiatus for the past 2 years, but he's back now. He was like one of the OGs for covering Syria. And he's always been like one of the most reliable sources as well. Same with Calibre Obscura. He was on the main guys covering Syria for years. But fucking same with Oryx as well. But obviously Oryx is fucking got a Turkish
He's-
bias.
Yeah.
I can't get any of these ones to come up on Twitter when I type them in. Twitter's search function
He's fucked.
is just ruined.
Yeah, it's fucking broken.
What do we think about while we're kind of in the area? What do we think about what's happening in Georgia?
Oh yeah, that's looking like it could if it continues on how it is, bro. Like that might be Georgia's Maidan right there.
That's what. Yeah, it has a lot of that energy, but until they're ripping up the bricks from the ground and throwing them at police.
Well, they're throwing Molotovs already.
I mean, of course. I mean, you see that wherever, but
True.
I want bricks.
And they've built barricades in Tbilisi, or in Tbilisi. They've started building barricades in Tbilisi. And you know how there's a lot of Georgian fighters in Ukraine? A lot of those guys are openly talking about going back to Georgia to do the big funny, if you get me.
I mean,
And honestly, bro, I would put
the
money.
war in Ukraine is likely to wind down soon.
I would put money on the Ukrainian intelligence services helping the Georgian guys that have been fighting for them do some funny stuff in Georgia. Put it that way.
Well, then even still, like the Russian loyalist territory has also been pissed off.
Yeah, Abkhazia. Yeah, they were protesting because the like proxy Abkhazia government basically signed into law that Russian citizens can buy property in Abkhazia. So they're going to be like basically absorbed into Russia.
Actually, did you guys see? Apparently, the Russian government's been starting to draft people from Chechnya, Dagestan, and Ingushetia.
Yeah. There's been big. They've been rounding up. They've been going into certain like workplaces and just rounding up men, which is the stupidest thing they could have done, considering how much jihadist guys have been going back to the Caucasus and fucking building up networks. Bro, there's a fucking there's already James, I don't know if you know about them. I haven't seen the name translated anywhere into English, so I can't say it, but I've got them on Telegram. There's a new group of Dagestanis that that formed
They got him.
they formed an insurgency group in Dagestan, and they have fighters under HTS at the same time as well.
What the?
I can send you. I'll send you their Telegram channel. But yeah, they're active in Russia and Idlib.
And Syria.
Yeah, they're probably taking part in the offensive.
Ooh, Alexander, our favorite European spook. Russia's manpower has become significantly less manageable in previous weeks.
Yeah,
So,
the Russians are taking some of the highest casualties they've taken in the entire war in the past few weeks.
Mm.
But fucking yeah, it's really stupid though for the Kremlin to be causing problems in the Caucasus when fucking ISKP and IS Kavkaz have been the most active in the Caucasus they've been in years.
Mhm.
And you know for
Watch them totally drag an ISIS guy into their recruiting.
oh yeah, bro, they probably already have. Like, bro, do you remember a few months ago when fucking I think it was IS Kavkaz guys or ISKP guys went around and did like a mass shooting in Georgia
yeah,
in Dagestan.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not talking about. I'm not talking about the one in. I'm not talking about the one in Crocus Hall. I'm talking about where they were running around on the streets of Dagestan, shooting up fucking. I think it was a synagogue and a church,
Mm,
and they were just killing the fucking police in the street and stuff. Like,
that was so after the Krokus shootings, right? Okay, because the Russians, they knew that it was the Taliban who were supported it, right? The Talibans and Tajiks, or
yeah,
usually
yeah, yeah.
Tajik fighters, but because they don't want to like point that out, right, and make it look awkward, right? Because you don't want to get pantsed by people who didn't have an air force until like 3 years ago. Uh, they immediately started having the FSB crack down on Dagestani and Chechen jihadists, right, who had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they were pissed, and so that's why you saw the shooting attacks. So that was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. It's fucking crazy.
the funnier part. It gets funnier, right? Because a bunch of these guys, the shooters, were actually the kids of local Russian officials.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There were a bunch of governors' kids that were involved. It was fucking nuts, bro. It was fucking nuts. And even last month, bro, Kadyrov came out and said he's in a blood feud with one of the other governors in the Caucasus. Um, I forget which little republic, but it was one of the republics. He came out and said, yeah, he's in a full-on blood feud with one of the other fucking governors in the Caucasus. It wasn't Dagestan. It was one of the other ones that like encompass Ingushetia. It was one of them.
So, but aren't Russia's high casualties more so a function of their increased pressure in Ukraine? It's not that Russia is doing worse; they are committing more fighters and bigger pushes? Question mark.
Yeah, they're committing more fighters in bigger pushes because they think that if they're trying to get as much territory as they possibly can before Trump gets in office, because they think that they can negotiate a ceasefire with Trump in office. That's why they're pushing as hard as they possibly can right now. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter because by 2025 they're going to be running out of vehicles. They're going to be running out of tanks and armored fighting vehicles. A good person to watch and watch on YouTube and on Twitter is a guy called Covert Cabal. Him and his friends on Twitter have basically been, for the entire Ukrainian war, have been purchasing private satellite images of Russian bases, basically every single Russian army base all over Russia, and hand by hand, like by eye, counting every single Russian tank, artillery piece, armored fighting vehicle on every single base. And if they're taking casualties at the same rate, by like the end of 2025 they won't have any tanks or BMPs left.
Well,
So like
Ukraine
does
needs men as well.
well, the thing
and
is they've got
women.
the men. No, they need equipment. They've got the men. They've got plenty of manpower. They're just not putting them in the army until they have the equipment to give them. That's their problem. They need more equipment to form new brigades.
I heard that they have a drastic manpower shortage.
Well, they have a shortage because they're not accepting new men into the army, but they're not accepting new men into the army because they need the
They
equipment.
got him. They took him out.
Bless you. But yeah,
He's giving
it's
too
not
much
that it's
intel.
not that there's no men. It's not that there's no men. It's that they're not putting in new men until they get new equipment. If you get me.
Let's see what Aaron Mate has to say. One of the problems
Oh,
of
God.
being told blindly to cheer on the Syrian revolution is that key participants aren't even Syrian.
Yeah, sure
Yeah.
thing, Aaron. Has you ever seen a
Yeah,
war crime?
Parmesan
that he
Girl
doesn't like?
yesterday was like the entire FSA are Uyghurs.
It's like, bro, the entire Syrian Arab army are Iranians, bro. What the fuck do you mean?
I love her picture with the airsoft gun.
Shoot.
Oh, God.
You know that picture?
Yeah.
Okay. What else do we want to talk about and wrap up on here?
Ooh.
I
Actually,
don't know.
Who's dead?
who's
Uh,
dead?
bunch of RGC guys are dead.
Oh yeah, actually, do we know how HTS has been targeting so many RGC notables? Are the Turks
Yeah.
feeding them intelligence?
My guess is that they're using sleeper cells in the regime-held cities to basically give them the coordinates of these guys, and then they're hitting them with the FPV drones.
Yeah, a lot of drones being used.
Yeah, that's my guess. Though I think they're using a lot of rebel sleeper cells in, especially Hammer and Homs. There was obviously the debunked reporting that there was a coup in Damascus last night. That was also rebel sleeper cells getting activated.
Well, there's the uprising in Hama or Homs.
Both.
Yes,
It's happening in both.
actually.
Yeah.
So what about them?
Yeah, those guys. I think those guys are feeding coordinates to about IRGC officers to HDS's drone units.
What do we think about Microsoft Excel?
The biggest innovation in HDS's military command structure in years.
How do they use it?
It's just more efficient planning. They're basically just professionalized more, like, essentially.
What do they? I mean, what do they do with Excel though?
A lot of the logistics guys will be organizing all the supply on Excel. It'll be a lot of the boring back end shit that you don't really think about, but it's actually really important. Essentially.
Oh, here's the other. Here's the other ISIS post that people were spreading around.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Now, I don't think these guys aren't even SNA, right?
no, those guys
No,
are
no.
HDS, but fucking, I don't know. I guess like
My favorite thing is like even the logo on the footage has a Shahada flag.
oh yeah, it
But
does,
nobody
doesn't
wants
it?
to point to that. It's
Yeah,
covered
it does,
by our
doesn't
Ukraine logo.
Yeah, it does.
But
Yeah.
like nobody can identify that. I can't pull it. It's just too. Hang on. Hey, there it is.
Yeah.
But nobody noticed that one. But like, so I mentioned
Well, yeah,
like
because that's like the calligraphy version, right?
yeah. Well, so it's the main one you see. It says there's like no God but Allah, and then the ISIS one is and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. So it's just the second like sentence in that phrase.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What do we think of the ISIS's like new corporate slop logo?
It depends on what exactly you mean. If you want to send me
The
logo
one
because
that's
they also
the
do a bunch of them for different factions that are just like
you know
calligraphy
the
balls.
the one that looks like a fucking like
The-
modern
the-
corporate fucking Microsoft tier. Like it's the one that's like really straight lines and angled.
QR quote, the QR
Yeah, the
flag.
QR fucking code looking one. Like I think it's what it shows up if you go on their Wikipedia.
ISIS Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So, wait. I'm gonna drop this link. So you can see the Taliban here. The Taliban are like, hey, we are on
Where link?
in Twitter messages.
Twitter messages. Okay, hang on. Yeah, I assume you're talking about it's not a new logo, but it's very it's like a calligraphy ball.
Yeah, but it's like really straight and angular. I don't know, it just reminds me of like
You
it
gotta
just
send it
reminds
to
me
me.
of like the fucking it just reminds me of like how all these like online like companies are like switching their logos from the old style ones to this like new corporate slop like kind of simplified logo shit. It just reminds me of that.
Like if I type in West Africa province, this is the this isn't what
Oh
you're
yeah.
talking about, right?
Oh no. Hold on.
No,
Hold on.
The,
I'll find
the
it.
one for Dash Core, the one that's all blocky.
Oh, it's like two diamonds.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah,
biggest
I've
downgrade
used it
ever, to be
before.
honest.
Yeah, it's literally two, like here. Boom.
Yeah, it's literally just two squares, bro. It's crazy.
I got her. There it is.
Yeah.
I was trying angular. He just said it's like two squares. I would have been like, oh yeah. I know what one you're talking about. I think it's very Iranian.
True.
So I could see it's like not IRGC is, but like if you look at like the Iranian flag, I bet you people didn't even notice this.
I didn't.
But let's see around the
right.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and I believe
true.
this is also Shahada.
Yeah, it
Oh,
is.
no,
It
it's
is.
just God is great.
Fucking
Huh?
that's really funny. That's actually really funny. I wonder if that's intentional or not.
Well, I just think this is blocky script. ISIS's logo is blocky script. It's just the style, Instead of the calligraphy brushstroke, it's like typeface.
I guess it's just easier, right? It's just easier to fucking if you need to make a flag with it on or something.
All right. Any last questions from chat?
Ooh, Alex asked about how big of a threat to Assad is there from the south? From probably
if you-
mostly sleep.
a decent threat, bro, because the South has always been very pro-rebel, and if anything, like it at the least, it at least ties up a bunch of the Syrian Arab army to deal with the South that would otherwise be focusing on protecting Homs.
Any predictions over the next week or 6 months? I said before, literally, like if I woke up tomorrow and Assad has fallen, I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't expect it.
Yeah, like who knows? No one. anyone online telling you that they can solidly predict what happens in Syria right now is a fucking brainlet. You should never listen to them.
Like I said, what I'd watch most on is actually the SDF positions
Yeah.
linking up on this Iraq border.
Yeah, because that's what's been planned for the past couple of days, and well, it would have gone ahead already if the SNA weren't being pricks, but it might. The guys in Al Tanf might start that because that's
Yeah,
what
I mean they're not being held up.
because that's what they're being told in their group chats that they're supposed to be doing soon.
How big is the force in that region?
Bro, it's like 1,000 guys.
Not much then.
Yeah, but you know, you could have a bunch of US soft guys help them, or from coming in from Jordan, or fuck, the Jordanians might even help them.
Well, Jordan has done airstrikes on Assad, but it was mostly because of the Captagon manufacturing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, the South might turn into a fight for their lives, depending on.
Like, if you even look at this population map, I think there's one little dot. You know, it's like a pixel down where that is. It's a pretty empty place.
I mean, yeah,
It's just
like
crazy. We have borders, you know.
yeah. I
It
mean,
should be like Civ, where it's blobs.
well, the guys in Al Tanf, like they basically the entire job for the past couple years has basically just been denying that part of the border to the Iranians.
First time chat. What is this shit? Crazy. What is this shit?
That's a heat map of population density in Syria. Gold star for me. It's a mohawk.
Yeah.
But
they're just jealous.
Anyway,
they're
bro,
just jealous that they have a username that's a username and a bunch of numbers.
Anyway, bro, it's fucking 6 a.m. for me, and I've got to drive to my base in the morning before 9 o'clock. So,
You mean you got to drive to your base now?
no, it's not that far away.
Oh, okay. But yeah, we're pretty much done and wrapping up here. So we're going to end the stream.
It was a fun time, man. If you're gonna cover Syria again on stream, if things keep popping up, I'll gladly jump on.
Maybe we'll do a weekly thing.
No, actually, I can't. Actually, reminder: this Al Tom's guys or the FSA faction actually has a Twitter page. It's somewhere between a company and like a battalion of guys or 1,000 of guys. Yeah. They're very professional. There's just not a lot of them.
Yeah, and also there's a US soft base in Al Tanf.
My chinchilla's honking at me to be let out.